5-day forecast that comes your way at 12:05. This is new since Atlanta's Morning News. DNA testing has led to a major breakthrough in a nearly 40-year-old homicide case with ties to Metro Atlanta.
It's been 39 years since hunters found human remains in the North Georgia mountains just south of Ellijay. Now, the GBI says advanced DNA testing and a genealogical search has identified those remains as David Clary. Clary grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, but was known to make frequent trips to Metro Atlanta prior to his death. His last known location was Gwinnett County. Investigators hope the new development can help them find Clary's killer. Anyone with info is asked to contact the GBI. Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
A gang member has been sentenced to 10 years in prison in a human trafficking case in Gwinnett County.
35-year-old Hilton Dobbins Jr. is the fifth defendant convicted in this case so far. He pleads guilty to human trafficking, gang, and racketeering charges. The investigation started almost 3 years ago when Gwinnett police responded to a shooting involving two of the defendants. They're part of the last one to take over gang, a.k.a. Lotto or 30% Gang, which is a criminal street gang with ties to National Crips and the Gangster Disciples. The case against four remaining defendants remains active. Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
It is 12:02. A Kenyan man goes before a judge later today. He's going to be sentenced for plotting a 9/11-style attack right here in Metro Atlanta.
Cholo Abdi Abdullah was convicted of planning to fly a jet into the Bank of America Plaza downtown or some other Atlanta skyscraper, according to federal prosecutors. The Kenyan-born man was arrested in the Philippines back in 2019. Prosecutors say Abdullah was part of the Al-Shabaab terrorist group trained in Somalia. They also say he'd already gotten his private pilot's license and was close to getting his commercial license. He cooperated with the FBI, giving up information on his contacts, so prosecutors are asking the judge for a life sentence. Michelle Wright, 95.5 WSB.
All right, so who's listening while you're talking? This is a little disturbing, but starting this Friday, Alexa will tell Amazon everything you tell it.
Starting Friday, an Echo setting that let users block their voice recordings from going to Amazon for processing is going bye-bye. Dr. Rajiv Garg, Associate Professor of Information Systems at Emory, trusts Amazon's security, but says if it's ever hacked, it's going to be a treasure trove for scammers who use AI voice cloning.
Grandmas are getting calls in the voice of their grandchildren, and it's not the grandchildren. It's essentially AI using somebody's voice.
Turning on the setting now can keep your voice local, but Amazon says that'll keep the newest Alexa Plus features from working on your Echo. Veronica Waters, 95.5 WSB.
Genetics testing company 23andMe has filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection following some difficult years after going public back in 2021. So if you used 23andMe, there are some things you might want to consider doing. Correspondent Nancy Chen has more on that.
Here's what you need to do if you use 23andMe and want your data erased. Log into your account, go to Settings, scroll to 23andMe Data, click View, scroll to Delete Data, and click Permanently Delete Data. Then you will need to confirm when 23andMe sends you an email.
Over 15 million people have used the DNA testing services. Crews in the Carolinas are working this noon to fight major wildfires that have burned hundreds of acres. The Table Rock fire in South Carolina started on Friday and has burned 1,300 acres so far with zero containment. Another fire in Greenville County has no containment and has scorched over 800 acres. And in North Carolina, 2 wildfires are burning uncontained in the western part of that state. Check the laundry room. If you use Woolite, you want to listen up. The Consumer Product Safety Commission issuing a recall today because that laundry detergent might be contaminated with a bacteria, and this bacteria can enter the body through your eyes or through a break in the skin, and it could cause some very serious infections. For those who have a weakened immune system, the recalled Woolite was sold exclusively at Amazon. If you have it, you're urged not to use it and return it for a refund. We do have more information on our website. Take a look, WSBradio.com. If you are stopping to fill up your car, you're going to be paying a little bit more for gas here in Georgia. AAA says it now costs about $2.94 a gallon for regular unleaded. That's up 5 cents from a week ago. That's about 5 cents less, though, than we were paying a month ago and 41 cents less than this time last year. Georgians, though, are still paying less than the national average, which is at $3.12 a gallon. It's time now for live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center. He has a look at the roads.
Watching this long-standing stall that is still in the left lane of the I-285 eastbound interloop ramp to I-85 northbound there in Spaghetti Junction. That's exit 33. That's why you're on and off the brakes starting just before Peachtree Boulevard. Construction continues in Canton, 575 southbound Riverstone Parkway, exit 20, right lane blocked there. And downtown, a few brake lights on a little bit of wet pavement, 7585 southbound from 17th Street as you make your way down past North Avenue to Cortlandt Street. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
And it's time now for Atlanta Radio's only 5-day forecast, brought to you by Shoemate, the official plumber of Atlanta Homes. Here's WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards.
Mostly cloudy for today, high 71. The clouds thinning out for the ride home this evening. Temperatures falling into the mid-40s for tomorrow morning. Tomorrow afternoon, sunshine, high 76. Sunny skies prevail all through the rest of this week. Morning lows in the upper 40s, daytime highs in the mid to upper 70s. We may reach 80 degrees for the first time this year by Friday.
All right, and if you're sniffling and sneezing, there's a reason. The pollen count is high. In fact, it's the highest pollen count of the year so far. 62 degrees in Fairburn, 60 in Loganville, 58 in Roswell. More news at 12:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. It is Erick Erickson here across America, and I am delighted to have you with me. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, would be delighted to have you if you text the word data to 33777. You can subscribe to the show notes, which you should do. Those of you in Florida, we're going to have an action alert for you as soon as we get it set up. SB 92 in the Florida legislature. This is bizarre legislation that would require anyone whose car gets dinged by someone else to file a police report before they're allowed to get it repaired. It's very, very bizarre. We'll get to that later. But first, this is actually the biggest story of the day. Bear with me on this. This actually is the biggest story of the day. It is, well, it's a story that's not getting the coverage that it deserves. Well, it did and it didn't. You gotta understand that sometimes the national media, political talk radio, TV, the significance of stories is sometimes not fully processed, and this happened on the weekend, so it flies under the radar. But it's actually a very, very big deal. I'm talking about Paul Weiss. It's actually Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison. It is a multi-billion-dollar law firm with offices all over the world, from Hong Kong to Brussels, headquartered in New York. And Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison, now known as Paul Weiss, with a website that looks like it's from the 1990s, has decided to settle an issue with the Trump administration. The Trump administration targeted Paul Weiss because one of the partners at Paul Weiss actually led the investigation into Donald Trump's finances for the city of New York's criminal prosecution. And Trump issued an order last week saying that they were going to shut the whole thing down. Essentially, if you were a client of Paul Weiss, you weren't going to be able to get federal work. Security clearances for Paul Weiss lawyers was going to go out the door, on and on and on and on and on. Now, I want to set you the stage for this, and I want to read to you from Matt Stoller, who I know. He's on the left, very big on anti-monopoly, antitrust. He's definitely on the left, but he writes a good synopsis here just so you understand the significance of this law firm. He writes, Paul Weiss, Rifkin, Wharton, and Garrison is a multi-billion-dollar entity that is so politically connected, its New York office served as the unofficial campaign headquarters for Kamala Harris's campaign. Democratic House Leader Hakeem Jeffries worked as an associate at Paul Weiss for 6 years and has a donor network there. Former Obama cabinet members Jay Johnson and Loretta Lynch are partners. So is Chuck Schumer's brother. Sonia Sotomayor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Elena Kagan were summer associates of Paul Weiss. At times, Paul Weiss's political connections were comical. In late 2024, a firm partner, Karen Dunn, both prepped Harris for her debate with Trump the very same day as she opened up for Google in its ad tech antitrust case against the Biden administration. Paul Weiss is also legendary, started in the 19th century by New York Jews, then becoming a top-tier law practice by the 1950s. Paul Weiss helped write briefs in Brown versus Board of Education, fought Robert Moses, the developer planning commission guy in New York, defended abortion rights and gay rights, and brought the first purely environmental law case in the country, a 1963 action successfully stopping a proposed power plant on landmark Storm King Mountain in the Hudson River Valley. It broke the color barrier, becoming the first big New York firm to hire a black associate, a black female associate, and the first to make a woman a partner. It employed presidential candidate Adlai Stevenson and John F. Kennedy speechwriter Ted Sorensen, as well as appointees from every presidential administration going back to Herbert Hoover. Today, at $7.5 million in profit per partner in 2024, the fifth highest of major law firms, Paul Weiss is anchored by private equity titan Apollo Global Management, as well as Google, Amazon, and Apple. It reps 9 of the top 10 private equity firms. Just this week, it got a securities action against Amazon dismissed, advised Rocket Mortgage in buying Redfin, and helped engineer the roll-up of roofing in the $11 billion QXO Beacon Roofing supply deal. Its work spans the gamut of pro-corporate aggressive lawyering. Brad Karp, for instance, sent a letter opposing the Biden administration's $8 cap on credit card late fees. It helped Verizon buy Frontier, did one of the largest private equity deals in China, and as an internal investigator, failed to catch one of the largest stock frauds in history. Paul Weiss is a firm unafraid of standing up to the government on behalf of its corporate and pro bono clients. Now, a week and a half ago, Donald Trump issued an executive order against Paul Weiss. It stripped the firm of security clearances in any business with the government. They did this also with Covington & Burling, another big firm, and Perkins Coie. Perkins Coie is another major Democratic monopoly law firm. Perkins Coie essentially ran the Russiagate stuff for the Democrats. Now, what you need to know is that Donald Trump's executive orders are more likely than not pretty blatantly illegal, and actually is pretty authoritarian, and does now set a precedent Democrats will use against Republicans. You can say, well, the Democrats were going to do it anyway, except the Democrats never did it. Donald Trump is doing it. Democrats will reciprocate in the future against firms that are predominantly Republican. Although, to be fair, there are fewer major law firms in this country that are explicitly massively Republican. There's certainly some that lean Republican, but not like Paul Weiss or even Perkins Coie that are like 99% Democrat. And essentially what happened was Paul Weiss is told that your lawyers can't have security clearances anymore. Any client of yours who does work for the government will have their work with the government canceled. It was an executive order designed to put Paul Weiss out of business. Perkins Coie, the other big firm, had the exact same thing happen against it. Perkins Coie found a federal judge to issue an injunction against Donald Trump. It doesn't really matter, though. It doesn't really matter. Because all of Perkins Coie's clients are now advised that if things go south with your case, our work with the government is toast. We will no longer be allowed to work with the government. Now, what's interesting is that with Paul Weiss, when the order went out, instead of having other law firms defend Paul Weiss, its law firm competitors started reaching out to Paul Weiss clients saying, you know, if you move your business to us, you'll be taken care of. Trump's not targeting us. So Paul Weiss cut a deal. They actually used Robert Kraft, the owner of the New York Patriots, as a go-between with Trump, allegedly. Paul Weiss cut a deal. They will do pro bono work for clients regardless of party. You should understand Paul Weiss's pro bono work included defending the terrorists at Gitmo and defending illegal aliens at the border. Paul Weiss does not do free legal representation for conservative causes. It will now. Mark Pomerantz also got disavowed by his law firm. Mark Pomerantz worked at Paul Weiss and helped build the case against Donald Trump. Wonder how long he'll be at Paul Weiss or have ties to Paul Weiss. So now, what exactly is the big deal? Erickson, why are you treating this as the big deal? Because the New York Times devoted the entirety of the top of its website on Saturday to Paul Weiss's capitulation. On Friday, the New York Times devoted the entirety of the top of its website to Columbia University's capitulation. You should note, by the way, that Jay Johnson, who's a partner at Paul Weiss, is on the board of Columbia University. So Columbia caves on Friday to Donald Trump's demands about anti-Semitism. Paul Weiss caves on Saturday. On Friday, the top of the front page of the New York Times was about Columbia, and the top of its printed newspaper on Saturday was about Columbia. On Saturday, the top of its online site was about Paul Weiss, and on Sunday, its above-the-fold front-page New York Times print edition, the most widely read newspaper in America, is the Sunday New York Times, and it was a big story about this law firm caving to Donald Trump. Why? Because Columbia University and Paul Weiss are of the left. Paul Weiss is, again, one of the major law firms of the Democratic Party. Hakeem Jeffries worked there. Chuck Schumer's brother currently works there. Jay Johnson, Loretta Lynch worked there. Elena Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, they all worked there. And they've caved to Donald Trump. They caved to Donald Trump in part because other law firms, instead of standing up for Paul Weiss, started playing for their clients to bring the law firm down. And so Paul Weiss has to cut the deal. And so the New York Times' response is to turn its entire media focus to a law firm in New York City none of you have ever heard of, to destroy the law firm's reputation because Paul Weiss cut a deal. This is why this is the biggest story of the day. Because what the New York Times is doing with its coverage, what the left is doing with its attention, is putting every Democrat-oriented law firm, every Democrat-oriented corporation, every progressive group on notice. Violence would be better than compromise. If Paul Weiss went into court guns blazing, its law business would probably be wiped out as its clients got nervous and started fleeing, which is happening with Perkins Coie. But it would be taking a stand. It would be fighting. The Democrats want to fight. That the New York Times has been inordinate attention on a law firm that no one cares about really, that it compromised with Donald Trump, is the major signal that the New York Times demands that there be a fight, not a compromise. You're not allowed to work with Donald Trump. You're not allowed to cut a deal with Donald Trump. You're not allowed to be reasonable with Donald Trump. That's what's going on here. That's why this is such a big deal. Because we're headed towards left-wing violence. Look at what's happening with Tesla now. You have people on the left. There was a video this weekend. Did you see it? It was all over social media. A man cut off a woman driving a Tesla, got out of his vehicle, ran back to her on the road, and started yelling at her that she was driving a Nazi mobile. People are spray painting swastikas on Teslas now. The left is turning towards violence. And the media institutions of the left are continuing to seed these nonsensical ideas about Trump. Democracy is on the line. This is, remember Chris Hayes, I played you the audio last week. This is the break the glass moment. They're revving up towards violence. You have the most major Democratic law firm in the country, to avoid wiping out its business, decides it's got to cut a deal with Donald Trump, and so the left now intends to wipe out that company because it cut a deal. The left demands you be on the ramparts. Even if you're going to be torn apart on the ramparts, you got to be there. The left demands that you be there. There can be no grace. Only Christianity has grace. No other religion has a concept of grace. The left-wing secular religion is probably the most graceless of all. There can be no grace, there can be no understanding, there can be no moving forward, and there can be no forgiveness. There must only be death and destruction. There can only be violence. There can only be standing up and fighting against Donald Trump, no matter where that leads. Look at their coverage of what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. The immediate lament afterwards, well, Trump kind of brought this on himself. They want the fight. And the New York Times devoting this much attention to Columbia University and Paul Weiss, two groups that most Americans really don't care about or even think about, that the New York Times, the major media institution of the left, would devote this much attention to it is a signal to all of us everywhere in this country that the left won't accept any compromise. There can only be a fight. And if that fight is violent, look at what happened with Luigi Mangione shooting the insurance executive. They will find a way to excuse it. This is where we're headed.
Have something to say? Hello. Call the show. 1-877-97-ERIC. That's 1-877-973-7425.
1220 Cool Day Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. New crash in Cobb County, 285 west or southbound, the outer loop at Cobb Parkway. It's in the right lane, also impacting those ramps from I-75, trying to get onto 285 southbound, the outer loop there next to the ballpark. Heads up for that. Looks like the stall's cleared out of the left lane, 285 eastbound, the inner loop ramp to I-85 northbound into Cobb County, but still seeing the brake lights back towards Chamblee-Dunwoody Road. And downtown, a few brake lights, not awful though. 75-85 southbound, sluggish from 17th Street as you make your way down to Cortlandt Street. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
News. Runway was dry and there wasn't any crosswind at the time of the crash.
Weather. High winds from the tornado damage.
Traffic. I-75 completely shut.
Everything you need to know before you start your day.
WSB recall
Atlanta's
alert.
morning news. Tomorrow morning at 5.
Wake up with 95.5 WSB. How Atlanta starts its day.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Just like your car, your septic system needs regular maintenance. Hi, I'm Shannon, the owner of Scorpion Septic. If you're seeing bubbles in your toilet, pooling in your yard, slow draining, or your toilet won't flush, you need Scorpion Septic.
Take the sting out of septic service with Scorpion Septic, where there is never a pump out charge with your repair. Call for more information. ScorpionSepticServices.com.
ScorpionSepticServices.com. Hey, Belinda here, and I have Barry Petrie, Director of Virtual Imaging. Barry has a very interesting testimonial to share with our listeners. Barry, tell us your story.
Well, Belinda, exactly a year ago when I took over my role, one of the first things I did was scan. And at the time, I was 54 years old, never had any issues, was in a good shape, worked out every day. And I was shocked to find out that I had a score of over 1,000 in my calcium. So, and most of that 1,000 was concentrated in my LAD, which you know is the widowmaker.
Not good.
So immediately started working with an interventional cardiologist, started working with a functional medicine specialist to try to correct that. And unfortunately, about 4 months ago, I started having symptoms and rescanned. And at this point, my calcium score had gone from 1,000 to over 1,500, and that LAD score had gone up to over 1,000. So long story short, ended up going to Northside, getting a stent put into my LAD. And now today I feel great. I regained the gear that I didn't know that I had lost. And had I not taken this role as director of virtual imaging a year ago, I probably would have not known this. And I could have been one of those folks that looks perfectly healthy and drops dead.
Absolutely. Folks, that story hits home. What are you waiting for? Go to Virtual Imaging and get a complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse. Call 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-SCAN. Or visit virtualimagingatl.com. It could save your life.
Hey, Dave Baker here. Let's talk garage doors. your garage door. Is it too loud or letting air in around the frame? Overhead Door Company of Atlanta will make it all better. In March only, they will perform their full 26-task garage door tune-up for just $79, and just in March. That's just $79 for up to 3 garage doors and openers. You need this done once a year anyway, so why not now and for just $79? Schedule now at overheaddooratlanta.com.
Got a leaky pipe? Trouble with your AC? Ace Hardware Home Services is right around the corner with trusted pros to fix it. From plumbing to heating and cooling, we'll keep your home running smoothly all year long. Get help today at acehardwarehomeservices.com.
Hey, if you've been thinking about selling your home, now is the time with a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate. Now, you can sell your home fast and for more than you expect. Just go to markspain.com to find out what your guaranteed offer will be. That's markspain.com, and you can start packing.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB. Join Eric's army of activists and let your voice be heard. Text ARMY to 33777.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425 should you wish to be on the program. So I'm a big Severance fan. Severance, the season finale was on Friday on Apple TV Plus. There's so much great on Apple TV Plus. One of the things I commented to you about last Friday was how you can watch Severance and you never have to involve your politics in it. It's one of the nice things about Severance was they didn't try to wrap in like the brokenness of Donald Trump and the like. It wasn't there. You could watch this TV show if you were on the left or the right. You could enjoy it and not have to weave your politics into it. Now, contrast that with Daredevil, which I'm a big fan of on Disney+. The first several seasons were on Netflix. They were very good. Explicitly now, they've tied it into American politics with Wilson Fisk, the bad guy, ran for mayor of New York. The theme, Make New York Great Again. Yeah, I mean, the explicit comparison to the bad guys or MAGA in Daredevil on Disney Plus. It's just I'm 2 episodes in, like I don't. The show is fine, but I want to watch TV to escape it, not to have the brokenness of the writers and their hatred to Donald Trump on display at all times. It's deeply frustrating. That's why Severance is great, except I go to the New York Times this weekend. I see all the stuff about Paul Weiss, and then I catch the top opinion piece, by Adam Sternberg. Severance isn't about work; it's about your neighbor's MAGA flag. That's right. I don't know a person who watched this TV program, Severance, and interpreted our current political environment into it. And the New York Times does the hold my beer approach and says, actually, the entire show is about your neighbor's MAGA flag. I guess my innie or my outie one must have watched the show and not realized it, because I didn't see the politics in it, which is one reason I deeply appreciated the show, being an escape from current reality. But my gosh, people are just poisoned by politics when they weave their politics into everything. You know, Hillsdale College actually has some classes on how politics can get out of balance with theology and with life around you. You should take their Constitution 101 class, for example, and see how Congress and our founders intended to restrain Washington, D.C. If you go to ericforhillsdale.com, E-R-I-C-K, ericforhillsdale.com today, you can sign up for one of their classes. You get 40 to choose from the economics to chemistry to math, to philosophy, to political science, to theology, to literature. They're all really, really good. Constitution 101, the Genesis class is also great. There's one on C.S. Lewis that's really good. Their English literature classes are great. The one on Shakespeare I haven't taken it, but I need to take it. You get a certificate of completion when you've done it. They're video lectures with Hillsdale's best faculty. You do it at your own pace. You go to ericforhillsdale.com. You sign up for these classes now. Listen, time is running out to do this. It's time to sign up for the program. Take these great classes, ericforhillsdale.com. Sign up today. Improve your mind. There's a topic you're interested in. ericforhillsdale.com.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 12:30. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. We are learning a little bit more of why there is a system-wide outage in Cobb County that's impacting some county services and operations. It was unusual activity, they say, detected on a county server requiring maintenance over the weekend. And according to an email from the communications department, that prompted maintenance to happen over the weekend. Multiple servers had to be taken offline, and restoring those servers has taken longer than expected. No timeline for full restoration has been provided just yet. Check back. We'll try to keep you updated. Well, we had morning clouds and rain. The rain's moved on, but the clouds are going to hang with us. Afternoon highs around 71, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. An Atlanta man has been sentenced to 20 years in prison after pleading guilty to human trafficking, gang, and racketeering charges in Gwinnett County. Investigators say 35-year-old Hilton Dobbins Jr. was part of the last one to take over gang. They're also known as Lotto, or 30% gang. It was a criminal street gang with ties to National Crips and the Gangster Disciples gangs. But again, he has now been sentenced to 20 years in prison. New developments in a nearly 40-year-old murder case. Back in 1986, some hunters found human remains in a wooded area south of Ellijay. Gilmer County investigators have now been able to identify those remains using advanced DNA testing. The remains are identified as those of David Clary. He grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, but he spent a lot of time here in metro Atlanta. His last known location was in Gwinnett County. The GBI this afternoon now looking for Clary's killer. And President Trump is announcing a secondary tariff on Venezuela. He claimed that the country, has sent criminals and gang members into the United States. President Trump wrote on Truth Social today that he is imposing a 25% tariff on nations that purchase oil and gas from Venezuela. This as the administration wraps up efforts to deport Venezuelans. It's 12:32.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 404-390-4000.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Attention men, are you suffering from ED or PE? Here's an important message from Choice Men's Health.
I'm Dr. Katz and I'm the Chief Medical Director at Choice Men's Health. Are you performing the way you want to in the bedroom? If the answer is no and you've tried Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra and were disappointed, then you need to come see us immediately. If you don't see results on the first visit, then there's no charge. Many of our patients have medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and prostate problems. I'm happy to say that we have 98% success rate with all our patients. Our customized solutions will allow you to perform within 10 minutes and last an hour and even longer. You can regain your love life and tackle your ED and PE problems. Guys, your partner will never complain again. Our clinic has the most affordable prices, so if you visit other clinics and you're not completely satisfied, then you need to call Choice Men's Health.
Regain your love life regardless of your age or medical history. Choice Men's Health guarantees results on your first visit or you pay nothing. Call now, 404-400-1170. That's 404-400-1170.
Do you think you need to renovate your kitchen, but you're worried about the costs? Well, Frugal Kitchens can help you get $1 million looking kitchen for a fraction of the cost and 18 months no interest financing available. The best part, they can get you back up and cooking in 5 days from the start of construction. Life happens in your kitchen. That's where you build so many memories. If you're like Christy and me, that's why we use Frugal Kitchens, and you can too. FrugalKitchens.com is the website. Go check them out. Don't forget, 18 months, no interest financing available. FrugalKitchens.com.
Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams with a look at your roads.
A little bit better news in Cobb County, right next to Truist Park. Sabrina, the crash we had, 285 westbound, the outer loop at Cobb Parkway, exit 19. They mostly got that all to the right shoulder. Fire EMS have left the scene, but still seeing delays back toward New North Side, Powers Ferry, exit 22 there in Sandy Springs. Also, the 75 south ramp to 285 west will start to improve. And we're also seeing some brake lights still in DeKalb, 285 eastbound, the inner loop improving. Nonetheless, still sluggish from Chamblee Dunwoody, ramping onto 85 north, where that earlier stall there in Spaghetti Junction has cleared. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly cloudy and warm today, high 71.
More news at 1 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings, conversationalists. Welcome. The phone number here is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, very happy to have you. We must begin to talk about the destruction of the Democratic Party. I had to research this when I was in college, so I know it began in 1972. Richard Nixon had come to power in 1968 after the very famous Chicago riots during the Democratic Convention. Americans went very law and order. There was an echo to what we saw this year. The Democrats had their Democratic National Convention in Chicago. There were not as many riots. It wasn't well covered. But the Democrats certainly have had law and order issues, and the American public swung to Richard Nixon in 1968. They swung back to Donald Trump in 2024, or maybe the Democrats should not have conventions in Chicago. When Richard Nixon won in 1972, the political analysts in the American Press Corps began to seed an idea that has picked up steam ever since. And that is, Democrats, it's okay. Demography is destiny. Whites are in decline. Non-whites are on the rise. The days of the Republican Party are almost over. And then you got to Ronald Reagan in 1980, and it was this blowout. And it was in 1984 as well. And the Democrats picked it up again and just said, Democrats, don't worry about it. This is bad, but demography is destiny, and the GOP is a party of white people, and white people are on decline. So just hang in there, hang in there. And then Bill Clinton got elected in 1992, and it was considered triumph. Look at this, look at this. See, we told you, demography is destiny. And, of course, what happened in 1994, well, the South and the Midwest flipped GOP, and so for the first time in 42 years, Republicans took the House of Representatives, and the media analysts, the pundits, the projection data analysts, analytics guys on TV and politics said, look, this is an anomaly. Listen, this is going to happen. White people are flipping to the GOP, but these white people are in decline. This just kind of ratified. They were already doing this at the federal level, but as they die off, we have more Black and Hispanic and Asian people in this country. Demography remains destiny. George W. Bush gets elected in 2000, and they said, "Nyeh." I mean, he lost the popular vote. You see where this thing is headed. He won the popular vote in 2004. They said it was the war. It's the war. That's all it is. Obama gets elected in 2008, and it is the days of the Republican Party are done. They can take back Congress in midterm elections because the party out of power does well, and the party that holds the White House tends not to show up in numbers, but when the people show up in numbers, the GOP can't win anymore. And I remember being on TV on CNN in 2010, and you had this massive Republican wave. To put in perspective, the Republican wave in 2010, you had to go back to 1890s, I think 1992, maybe 1894, to see such a massive shift. That's how big it was. From 1892 to 2010, you never saw that massive shift because what happened was it went all the way down to the local level. There were towns in North Carolina that flipped from all Democrat to all Republican. I mean, down to dog catcher in some places, people flipped GOP. And the Democrats were like, well, actually, the number of people who turned out in this midterm was less than the people who turned out in 2008. And Republicans got very excited in 2012. Mitt Romney lost to Barack Obama, but the GOP still did well elsewhere. But the Democrats were all saying demography is destiny. There's nothing to worry about. Pay no attention to what happened in 2010. Donald Trump gets elected in 2016. They rationalize it again. He didn't win the popular vote. It's no big deal. And then comes 2024. Well, first 2022, where the Democrats decide, you know what? This is it. This is proof. Republicans are done. We're in not a good economy. The Democrats control everything. The GOP should be doing well, and they didn't. The Democrats in 2022 ultimately convinced themselves that their talking point, going back to Richard Nixon's election in 1972, that demography was destiny, that suddenly that's right, it's true, it's real, and finally, in 2022, the proof is in the pudding. The days of the GOP are at an end. The Democrats are dominant. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And then 2024 happens. The GOP won the national popular vote for president. The GOP won the national popular vote for Congress. The GOP won the national popular vote for state legislative elections. And the Democrats are in disarray. They don't know what happened. They've been told since 1972 demography was destiny. As more black and Hispanic people become voters, as white people recede, the GOP is a party of old white people. They're going to die off, and Democrats will have a lock. Rui Tierra, who has written these books in the past about this liberal blue-collar coalition, all of his work up in flames. Why? Because demography is never destiny. That's a talking point, and the Democrats believed it. What's happened is that as the Democratic Party has increasingly been run by progressive white women, black and Hispanic voters are fleeing, particularly the men. College-educated white women are now the base of the Democratic Party. And my apologies to those of you who are college-educated white women. My wife is, my daughter soon will be, but college-educated white women who are progressive are the most sociopathic, neurologically impaired people on planet Earth. College-educated progressive white women are walking basket cases, and every last one of you knows it. I'm not trying to be insulting. That's actually the data. College-educated progressive white women have more mental health issues than anyone else. Quick, college-educated progressive white woman who's offended by me saying this, what's your therapist's name? Oh, yes, because you have one. There's something unhealthy with what's going on. I have an answer for it. You don't want to hear it. But nonetheless, it's true. And as the Democratic Party has become more progressive, white, and female, and highly educated, black and Hispanic voters and even a lot of Asian voters are moving to the GOP. Progressive white women have destroyed the Democratic Party. They destroyed families first. Now they're destroying the Democrats. And they just can't help themselves. Rachel Bate is from the Politico. She was on This Week with, what's her name, over there, Martha Raddatz. They were in the roundtable discussion. I think, John Carl was in charge.
I mean, look, I think Donna's absolutely right. This is the beginning of the starting gun to a bunch of primaries that are going to happen. We were talking about it in the green room. But the problem for Democrats right now is if they're primaried by a bunch of Bernie Sanders, AOC-type Democrats, they're going to have a real hard problem flipping the House. I mean, look, they only have to win a couple of seats. And while these folks really sort of gin up the base, they get people really excited, Democrats really excited. When it comes to independent voters, a lot of those types think Democrats are out of touch.
Yes, they do. Now, she was responding to Donna Brazile, who said this.
First of all, Bernie Sanders is filling a void, a major void left after, of course, the defeat of Kamala Harris last year by Donald Trump. This void has to be filled because there's so much anger not just in red districts, but also in blue districts. The American people, by and large, many of them, are fed up. They're fed up with the distractions that's happening in Washington, D.C., the policies of the Trump administration, and they want somebody.
They want somebody like Bernie Sanders to fight. I'm sorry. This isn't going to help the Democrats. Bernie Sanders is out there holding rallies. The New York Times, the left, they're bragging about his crowd size, these massive crowd sizes. I saw an interview over the weekend with Bernie Sanders where he was talking about he never saw crowds like this while he was on the campaign trail. Never saw crowds like this on the campaign trail. You know what he's out there campaigning on with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez?
And everybody knows there is something wrong when we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people.
That's right. He wants universal Medicare for all. He's back to universal health care. Now, there are woke right people who want this too, socialist people on the right who suddenly want government control because Donald Trump's in charge. That would be foolish. Most people don't. But that's Bernie Sanders' big idea, which is his old idea, which is Bernie Sanders' standard idea. The Democrats don't know what to do with any of this. The Democrats have genuinely decided that if they go out and they campaign on trans rights and universal government-run health care for everyone, that somehow they're going to get swept back into power. This is from Axios today, not exactly a conservative news outlet. Top Democrats tell us their party is in the deepest hole in nearly 50 years. The party has its lowest favorability ever. No popular national leader to help improve it. Insufficient numbers to stop most legislation in Congress. A durable minority on the Supreme Court. Dwindling influence over the media ecosystem with right-leaning podcasters and social media accounts ascendant. Young voters are growing more dramatically conservative. A bad 2026 map for Senate races, Democratic Senate retirements, making it harder for the party to flip the House with members tempted by statewide races. There are only 3 House Republicans in districts. Former Vice President Harris won in 2024. A dim sign for a Democratic surge. There were 23 8 years ago in seats Hillary Clinton won. Thanks to the number of people fleeing blue states, the math for a Democratic win in the presidency gets harder starting in 2030 as Republican states pick up seats in the Electoral College. Doug Sosnick is a senior advisor to Bill Clinton and a widely followed thinker on political megatrends. He told us this is the Democrats' deepest hole in at least 45 years since Ronald Reagan's victory in 1980. Susnick says the 2024 election was at least as much a repudiation of Democrats as it was a victory for Trump. As Ezra Klein noted this month in his New York Times column, if current population patterns hold, Democrats will suffer a devastating blow in the 2030 census, which is why they want illegal aliens in the country, by the way. The party will lose as many as a dozen House seats and electoral votes. Ezra Klein points out that in the Electoral College, Democrats could win all the states Harris carried in 2024 plus Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin and still lose the White House. You must understand the reason Democrats are digging in their heels on defending illegal aliens in this country is because of the Electoral College. They see where this heads. The Democrats are playing a long game here. According to the U.S. Constitution, it is people in states who are counted for the census, not citizens and not voters. The more illegal aliens you have in a state, it pads your numbers for the Electoral College. If in the election rolls around after 2030, Kamala Harris's seats could all go to the Democrats' Electoral College plus Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And given what is expected in the Electoral College, the Republicans would still win. That's how big the advantage will be unless the Democrats can flood the states with illegal aliens. If they can flood the states with illegal aliens, no, those illegal aliens aren't going to be able to vote in a presidential election legally, but it will give numbers, it will give Electoral College votes to states like New York and to states like California and to states like Illinois, padding their margins in the Electoral College. You've got to understand this. This is the most important thing. And no, I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I think it's real. Democrats see that people are leaving blue states for red states because of policies, and those people are voters. So if they offset those people with illegal aliens, the Constitution requires that illegal aliens be counted for purposes of the census, and the census is what's used to determine House districts, and House districts are used to prop up the Electoral College. The Democrats for years, for decades, have told us demography was destiny and the GOP was about to be wiped out. And it turns out it's the Democrats who are about to be wiped out because no one wants to be in the same party with a bunch of progressive, white, college-educated women who are nuts. And they don't know what to do other than flood the country with illegal aliens. Just so you understand, This is all part of the Democratic strategy here. It really is. I'm not making it up. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not something they will really want to publicly state, but every once in a while they get honest about it, that they've got to have margins of illegal aliens in states like California and New York to protect their electoral college advantage. And Donald Trump is getting those people out of the country as quickly as he can. Between banks collapsing and more teetering on the brink with uncertain financial times and interest rates not going down as quickly as people thought, Swiss America has been warning people about a secret war on cash. They're the trusted leader in precious metals and have been for 40 years in this country. They've been warning people about the secret war. They'd love to help you safeguard your hard-earned cash. They're rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau, and they can educate you on protecting your assets. All you have to do to get their completely free report is call or text my name, Eric, to 800-289-2646. The report takes less than 15 minutes to read. It can save your retirement and finances. And the secret war on cash includes cryptocurrency. Digital currencies are affected. It is growing. You need to figure out what's going on, how the government's trying to monitor you. Just text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646. If you want to talk to someone, just call them, tell them Eric Erickson sent you. 800-289-2646. The report from Swiss America is completely free. One more time, just text Eric to 800-289-2646. Message and data rates may apply.
Honest.
Putting your trust in me to tell you what's going on.
Transparent.
I need you to know this from the bottom of my heart.
Giving you the information without the noise.
My job isn't to tell you what you want to hear, it's to tell you the truth.
It's the Eric Erickson Show.
1251 Cool-Ray Carrier WSB 24-hour traffic center. Delays through Lawrenceville on 316 westbound, trying to get over to Highway 120 Duluth Highway. They're trying to clear a crash on Duluth Highway westbound, approaching 316 out of the left lanes, but slow trying to get on to Duluth Highway via 316 westbound. We also have construction in that area. Earlier crash totally off to the right, 285 westbound, the outer loop at Cobb Parkway, exit 19 there next to the ballpark. Delays have improved out of Sandy Springs. And you still have the construction in Canton, right lane blocked, 575 southbound, Riverstone Parkway, exit number 20. No need for an alternate, just a slight slowdown through that work zone. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
When traffic hits.
I-75 completely shut down north and south between McDonough and Locust Grove.
The Triple Team Traffic Center has you covered.
Brake lights fill in on 316 westbound at Sugarloaf Parkway.
Your source for Atlanta's traffic.
Heavy police fire department activity.
Brought to you by the Cool-Ray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group, to discuss one of the biggest blind spots that people face when saving for retirement, and it's a head scratcher. Chris, how do so many people not know what they're invested in?
That's the biggest flaw that everybody runs into. They think they know what equities they have, they think they know what bonds they have, but they really don't know how those mutual funds or how those index funds are performing in conjunction with one another. So, I would liken this to a big pot of soup, and we're just throwing all the ingredients in the refrigerator in this thing. It's not very good. It's just a mishmash of stuff. And sometimes you like the way it tastes. Sometimes you don't. And when you don't know why. You don't know if you got too much chicken in there or too much vegetables in there or what's going on. And I ask every caller that comes in for an initial consultation, do you know how your portfolio is broken down? And they say, well, I've got, 20 or so options in my 401k, and I just picked 2 of them or 3 of them. I thought I needed some international. I thought I needed some U.S. equities. I thought I needed some bonds. And they're just guessing. So you have to absolutely know what you're invested in, and that's where we will run the 401k portfolio x-ray for you, because that'll break it down. If you're not proficient at investing and don't understand this world, we will walk you through it. Not knowing what you're invested in is a big hindrance to growing and protecting your money. We will run a portfolio x-ray for you and educate you on exactly what's in your portfolio.
Set up a time to get your complimentary portfolio x-ray today. Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858. That's 404-737-3858, or book online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
Hey, it's Scott Slade from My Roofer, FGA Roofing. You know, it's not uncommon to see 25-year roofs lasting only a dozen years or so. That's why roof maintenance is so important. Taking care of the things you can't see from the ground that are robbing years of service from your roof. FGA Roofing is now offering a subscription maintenance plan that'll go a long way towards making sure your roof will last as long as it's supposed to. Not only spotting problems when they're small, but professionally cleaning debris from your roof and gutters, securing flashing, adding new pipe collars, and more, including an inspection report so you know exactly what's up there. Most all leaks are covered under your maintenance plan, whether FGA Roofing installed your roof or not. I've paid more to get my gutters cleaned in the past. For roughly what you pay monthly for streaming, you'll be adding years of good-looking service to your roof. And when it's time for a new roof, you're in line for a $1,000 discount as a preferred FGA Roofing maintenance customer. Just mentioned you heard about it from Scott Slade. Just search FGA Roofing to get started.
WSB Atlanta, WSBB FM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Your non-stop news source. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
All the information without the spin. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. If you're interested in growing your business anywhere in the United States, First Liberty specializes in helping big businesses become bigger and small businesses become Goliaths. All you got to do is go to FirstLibertyGA.com, FirstLibertyGA.com. See if they're a fit for you, see if you're a fit for them. They're good people. They can help your business grow. You know, the Trump administration is regularly attacked by members of the media for being hostile to the press and keeping the press out of everything. Jeffrey Goldberg, writing in The Atlantic. The world found out shortly before 2 p.m. Eastern Time on March 15th that the United States was bombing Houthi targets across Yemen. I, however, knew 2 hours before the first bombs exploded that the attack might be coming. The reason I knew this is that Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, texted me the war plan at 11:44 a.m. The plan included precise information about weapons, packages, targets, and timing. So the Biden administration was completely ineffective in dealing with the Houthi. They didn't counter them. They didn't aggressively attack them. They allowed them to mess up shipping lanes. And the Trump administration, March 15th, decided it was time to start blowing up the Houthi. Apparently, someone started a group chat that included the Secretary of Defense. Instead of using a secure background channel to do the war planning, they did it on a group chat that included Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor of The Atlantic. I'm assuming they thought it was someone else. It's actually kind of wild that this happened. But, you know, they say that this administration is relentlessly anti-media, and here they included a prominent member of the liberal mainstream media in their war planning. They should be thanking us. Instead, they're just attacking them. But the moral of the story here, though, in all seriousness, is move fast and break things might work for Elon Musk, but not for a lot of other people. There will be a blowback from the American public if there are too many mistakes made by the Trump administration. There will be, because the American people don't fancy themselves as cruel or malicious. And if some of these things, like the deported people, have sympathetic profiles, the administration's just got to be careful. They got to understand that people are fickle. They'll change their minds. Don't make it easy for the left. But here, good for Goldberg to keep his mouth shut, but also maybe don't use group chats to plan a war. If this story is legitimate, I'm waiting for a White House response. Surely this can't actually be it.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our U.S.-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or consumercellular.com today. Real people paid to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Sabrina Cupid. We're going to start with this. Investigators hope new developments in a nearly 40-year-old homicide with Metro Atlanta ties can help them crack the case open.
Hunters found human remains in a wooded area south of Ellijay in August 1986, 39 years ago. Gilmer County investigators quickly determined they were dealing with a homicide, but they were never able to identify the body until now. The GBI, FBI, and several other agencies used advanced DNA testing and a genealogical search to identify the remains as David Clary. He grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, but frequented the Metro Atlanta area. His last known location was Gwinnett County. The GBI hopes they're able to use this new evidence to find Clary's killer. Austin Eller, 95.5 WSB.
All right, your weather for today. It's going to be cloudy. Afternoon highs around 71. We'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up in just a matter of minutes. If you're not feeling well today, it could be your allergies. Metro Atlanta has its highest pollen count of the year so far at more than 3,000. It's mostly due to pine, oak, birch, hackberry, and sweet gum, all tree pollens. We are learning a little bit more about why there was a system-wide outage in Cobb County that impacted county services and operations. It was unusual activity detected on a county server that required maintenance over the weekend. That service took a little longer than they thought, and we've just gotten word that the county superior court clerk's office is now back open again. The pedestrian bridge over Cobb Parkway connecting the Cobb Galleria and Cumberland Mall is closed beginning today for a $2 million overhaul. Cobb County DOT Director Drew Rasler says there is a necessary project that they have to do.
That bridge is about 30 years old, and so it's time to just put a new coat of paint on it and replace some of the key structural elements to make sure that it can be a beautiful structure that also lasts us a long time.
The bridge will be closed until July 2nd. He says lane closures will be limited and only happen outside of peak hours. Georgia election officials planning to cancel about 455,000 inactive voter registrations this summer. That would be one of the largest registration removals in U.S. history. More than half the registrants scheduled for cancellation were identified by a 24-state organization that reports when a voter has moved and is no longer eligible to vote in Georgia. Another sign that regular screenings can actually save lives. New analysis showing getting screened for prostate cancer can lower a man's risk of death by 20%. It's 102.
Are you facing a fork in the road and deciding between continuing your career and retirement? I'm Wes Moss, host of Money Matters, and this massive life decision shouldn't be taken lightly. Talk with my team if you'd like help reviewing your retirement accounts and building a financial plan. We can help you review options and offer an opinion based on your best interests. You can find us at yourwealth.com. That's YOUR wealth.com.
It's Eric. Are you thinking of adding value to your house, or just you want more convenience and more comfort in your kitchen? Frugal Kitchens can get you one of those $1 million home kitchens at a fraction of the cost. They want to talk to you about how you can go through their process, get your new dream kitchen up and going, and you can be cooking in 5 days from the start of construction and get 18 months no interest financing available. It's what Christy and I have done. Life happens in your kitchen, and Frugal Kitchens can put you in a great one. FrugalKitchens.com.
Men, trouble in the bedroom? Not anymore. Priority Men's Medical Center restores your love life in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE. Here's a specialist in men's health.
I'm Dr. Simovitz. Have Viagra or Cialis let you down? Priority Men's Medical Center offers the most effective treatments that eliminate ED and PE, with men lasting longer than ever. 98% of patients see instant results on their first visit.
Priority Men's Medical Center's breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. Your consultation and first treatment are free. You'll see instant results in the office. Plus, qualified patients get their testosterone checked free. Call 404-885-8885. 404-885-8885. To restore your love life in just one visit, call now. 404-885-8885.
Hi, this is Mark Spain, and our offers are the strongest in the industry. When you receive a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, there's no showings, no open houses, and no stress. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing.
I'm Ultima Morgan. Every year, almost 30,000 babies in America are born with birth injuries. It's every parent's worst nightmare. If your child suffered a birth injury, please call our firm to find out if we can help.
Visit forthepeople.com for an office near you.
WSB News Time is 1:05. Live team coverage of traffic and weather. Alex Williams in the WSB 24-hour traffic center with a look at your road.
Seeing some delays through Midtown via 7585 southbound from 17th Street, just on and off the brakes as you make your way past North Avenue. Still slow out in Gwinnett County, the Lawrenceville area, 316 westbound, approaching Highway 120 Duluth Highway. While that crash on Duluth Highway westbound before you get to the 316 bridge, that is clearing out of the left lanes right in front of Northside Hospital Gwinnett there. So slow in both directions during the lunchtime rush. And right lane construction, 575 southbound in Canton at Riverstone Parkway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly cloudy, drying out today, high 71, lows tonight in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high 76. Mostly sunny on Wednesday, morning low 50, afternoon high 77.
Well, the rain has moved on, but the clouds remain. We have 60 degrees under cloudy skies in Duluth. It's 55 in Powder Springs. And Ackworth, you have cloudy skies and 56 degrees. We are expecting highs in the 80s by the end of the week. We'll have Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. Stay close. It's 106.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Greetings, welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across America. The phone number is 877-973-7425. If you'd like to be on the program, I'd love to have you. We got an Erickson family prayer request. My wife's oncology scans her tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to go with her, but prayers appreciated. We expect things are okay, but you just never know. The medicine that she's on is supposed to work for 2 years. We're almost 9 years in, and it's still working, but we get a little more nervous every time with this sort of Damocles hanging over us, waiting to find out something's wrong. So your prayers are very much appreciated. I can't go with her tomorrow because I got to take my son to school, and so we've kind of come to terms with this. But we get our new dog on Thursday as well, so hopefully the scans will be good tomorrow, and then we get the dog on Thursday. I gotta shift gears a little bit, and it's a pet peeve of mine. I'm going to try to avoid the deep theology here. There's a headline from Australia. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is urged to call emergency meeting after Trump administration cuts funding to 7 Australian universities. The administration's move came after U.S. agencies asked Australian researchers to justify why they should continue receiving American research grants. The surveys they received asked several questions, including whether the researchers had received funding from China and if their university has recognized only 2 sexes, male and female. The institutions which have had their funding cut are the Australian National University, Monash University, University of Technology Sydney, University of New South Wales, Charles Darwin University, Macquarie University, the University of New South, UNSW. I'm assuming that, too, is the University of New South Wales, so maybe they're listed differently. In any event, you've got multiple universities that are losing $600 million from the United States. Now, I am not generally opposed to foreign aid. I don't know why we are funding $600 million to Australian universities unless we get the research, unless we get the data, if it helps us. Now, you should understand that one of the things China does is China writes grants to universities around the world And then China gets all the research, the bleeding edge research, and China uses that for research and development. And it's one of the reasons China is eating into us when it comes to advances in technology and in artificial intelligence. You may not like spending money abroad, but you got to understand that sometimes it's useful, particularly if some of these universities are doing cutting edge scientific stuff. And we want that research and we don't want China to have it. It's worth spending the money, I think. But if it's like doing research on transgender monkeys, why bother? Democrats need to understand that Americans generally are not opposed to cutting foreign aid because they don't feel the foreign aid. And this is the big thing about foreign aid. It's not actually a significant part of the U.S. budget. It's only a couple percentage points. But there's no constituency for it in the United States. Ugandans don't vote. So when you cut money from Uganda, you're not going to have voter problems in this country. In fact, most voters, even people who descend from people from Uganda, are okay cutting the federal budget when it comes to foreign aid. The Fort Worth Star-Telegram, however, has this story. The Tarrant Area Food Bank is turning to local support now that it faces a combined deficit of $4.2 million due to the ending of federal food assistance programs. That equates to 2.5 million meals for families across North Texas. The nonprofit acts as a regional clearinghouse for donated food, serving Fort Worth and 13 surrounding counties. It is responsible for distributing a mix of fresh, frozen, and shelf-stable products to a network of hunger relief charities and social services organizations. The Trump administration is freezing over $1 billion in pandemic-era spending for schools and food banks 6 months before the programs were scheduled to end. The U.S. Department of Agriculture announced March 10th that it's cutting the initiatives. The programs cut were Local Food for Schools Cooperative Agreement and the Local Food Purchase Assistance Cooperative Agreement, which helps schools and food banks pay for food sourced from local farmers, respectively. The services, which help make up 30% of the food bank's purchasing budget, have been axed. The programs have been cut in an effort to bring nutrition programs out of the COVID era. Now, I want you to note a couple of things first before you get all upset about it. The programs were going to end in 6 months anyway. These were COVID funding programs when a lot of people were out of work because of COVID, and they've been slowly winding down. The Biden administration dragged winding them all down, putting it on the burden of the next administration, and the Trump administration decided to cut them 6 months early. My father-in-law manages a soup kitchen. He is retired. He's an engineer, went to Georgia Tech, runs a soup kitchen, and they sometimes struggle to find volunteers to help. It's a burden. You got to get in there early, and you got to cook meals for over 100 people. You have to learn the food safety laws. For example, you can't have raw meats in a refrigerator above raw vegetables. The vegetables got to be on top for food safety. You got to make sure your refrigerator's at a certain temperature. You got to keep stuff segregated. You can't leave stuff out for a long time. You got to learn all that stuff. You volunteer. You work up the ladder. The more you work up the ladder, the longer you've been there, the more compliance you have to have. And you're a volunteer. You're not paid. You're a volunteer. It gets hard to find volunteers. I don't have a problem with the government cutting funds to food banks. If you listen to this program on a regular basis, you know we fundraise every year for food banks. During Thanksgiving, we fundraise Hungry for a Day. We raise a lot of money to feed a lot of families for Thanksgiving. I love supporting food banks and food pantries. I love supporting soup kitchens. I love to cook. It's a great way to tie it in to help people in need who are hungry. I don't have a problem with the government stopping this. Here's my problem. My problem is that in this country for decades, the churches played this role. And as the federal government got bigger and bigger, fewer and fewer churches played a role. And now, frankly, the churches that play the role in feeding the stomach are the ones less likely to feed the soul. It's all these progressive theological organizations and supposedly Christian denominations that aren't very Christian anymore that bring in the homeless people, feed them, and then share a false gospel with them. And a lot of evangelical, Orthodox, Bible-believing churches have just flat out abandoned helping the needy in their own community. They go to Haiti, they go to Mexico, they go to Africa, they build huts and houses and schools, and they don't really care about the hungry in their own backyard because that's the government's responsibility now. We don't need to worry about it. And churches, Bible-believing churches, have abandoned their role to their own community, and they're no longer seeking the welfare of the community in which they live and prayed for it. They're going abroad. They're sending their kids on spring break trips to foreign countries that have a beach, letting the kids wear their swim clothes while they work out. I'm sorry, I got a big problem with it within the church. And I've got a real problem with it with local communities now deciding, you know what, instead of us building a relationship in our local communities for local people to understand what we need for our local community, we're just going to outsource to the federal government. And so instead of getting the donations of local people, we're going to rely on federal taxpayer dollars. And I think that's a terrible thing. I think it's a really bad thing when any food bank anywhere is so dependent on federal dollars, they're not even working to build up their relationships with their local communities. Seek the welfare of the city in which you live and pray for it, for there you will find your welfare. If you live in North Texas, if you live near Tarrant County, if you live near Fort Worth, I hope you're writing checks to the local food bank. They need your help. Julie Butner, the president and CEO of the Tarrant Area Food Bank, says the organization's been able to maintain balanced supply and distribution through local food purchase agreements. The food bank has received supplemental food purchasing assistance from the Commodity Credit Corp, the government agency created to protect farm income and prices. Now they're going to have a deficit. They're going to hurt unless the local people stand up and help. And this is part of the issue here. We've got $35 trillion in national debt, but everything other than foreign aid has a constituency here. You cut the local food bank, people in the local community get upset. Why are the people in the local community funding the food bank? Why aren't the local businesses? I mean, the Dallas-Fort Worth area has massive numbers of Fortune 500 companies. Why aren't they writing the checks instead of the taxpayers across the nation writing the checks? It's not cruel and heartless. It's seeking the welfare of the community in which you live. I raise money every year for food banks across this country for Thanksgiving to be able to provide meals for families in need. I don't think we as a people should be relying on the government for this stuff. Frankly, I wish more evangelical churches in this country would get into doing this sort of thing instead of sending their kids abroad on mission trips. There's a mission field in your own backyard, churches. You've ceded that mission field to the social gospel churches that spread a false gospel that want to bring heaven to earth and not you to heaven. There's a role for an evangelical church to play in this. But the larger issue here so often is outside of the Catholic Church, we've all gotten dependent on the government doing this stuff. The government takes care of it. The government funds the food bank. The government funds the schools. The government takes care of the poor. The government takes care of the needy. The government takes care of all these things, except the government can't take care of any of us right now because the government's $35 trillion in debt. We should be taking care of each other. But we've all abdicated our responsibility to Washington, D.C., and notice I say we all. I'll include myself in it. And the government can't do it all anymore. The government has to cut back. And it seems like an area where the government could cut back is in funding local food banks where the local people, the local businesses, the local taxpayers, the local government, they can step up and do it. But also, so many of these organizations have gotten so much money from COVID. COVID is now over, people. Yes, people are still getting COVID. I have a relative the other day we were going to go see. We had to cancel a trip because he got COVID. But the government poured tons of money into the economy, into local food banks and the like because of COVID, and some of that money hadn't been spent. Call it back now. Save the money. Get a lot of these entities that were able to spend a lot of money because of COVID spending, get them reined in and more responsible for their budgets as well. I don't know that that's happening to this food bank. I'll assume that it's not happening to this food bank. But I know plenty of entities that got a lot of extra money during COVID that let their budgets get out of whack because they just got so used to all the extra money. But y'all, it's time for us to step up locally and help. If you live in the Fort Worth area, consider donating to the food bank there. If you live in Palm Beach, Florida, consider donating to your local food bank there. Orlando, the same thing. Atlanta, the same thing. Sacramento, the same thing. Austin, the same thing. Donate to your local food bank. There are hungry people in your community. They could use your help. But if you're a food bank, start building your relationships with your local businesses. Start building your relationship with your local donors. Stop relying on Washington, D.C. All of us have got to do a better job of being local and not being dependent on Washington, D.C. Our schools, our businesses, our nonprofits, they need to be local because in a local place, you know the needs of the local community better than Washington, D.C. This isn't a bad thing that Washington is cutting back money to food banks and nonprofits around the country. It is an opportunity for the food banks and the local nonprofits to actually be known in their local community, to be seen as helping, and to rely on the charity of others in their local community instead of the taxpayers of Washington, D.C., who no longer have the money to be able to fund all of these things while also trying to pay down a national debt. This is not a bad thing. This is a real opportunity, and we should all be treating it as an opportunity for us in this country to be committed to our local cities, our local states, our local counties, our local food banks, our local nonprofits. We should all be seeking the welfare of the cities in which we live because there we'll find our welfare, and stop letting everyone rely on Washington, D.C. to take care of all of it for us, abdicating our own responsibility for our local government. This is not a bad thing. It is an opportunity.
Those who love him, listen to find out what he's going to say next. Those who disagree with him, also listen to see what he's going to say next. It's the Erick Erickson Show.
121 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Still watching brake lights on 285 eastbound, the inner loop into Cab, trying to get over to I-85 Spaghetti Junction. That's due to volume on 85 northbound, heading up toward Norcross. Luckily, no crashes in the way. Earlier crash on Highway 120, Duluth Highway, east of Highway 316 in Gwinnett County has cleared. 316 west, still seeing delays through Lawrenceville. And found some construction now near the airport. Camp Creek Parkway, left lane blocked in both directions at Old Fairburn Road. Eastbound delays heading toward 285 of the toughest. Westbound, not so bad. Traffic brought to you by Jackson Hewitt. It matters who does your taxes. At Jackson Hewitt, expert tax prep is now $149 or less. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/49-149. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Everyone has an opinion.
We have become an idiotic nation that doesn't know how to even debate anything, so it doesn't surprise
Eric Von Hessler has an opinion.
You will still age.
And some advice.
Start doing things when you're younger. Drink a lot of water.
Eric Von Hessler, today at 3.
And you will still die.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Anyone on the roads in North Georgia knows that tractor trailers are everywhere. For my friends in the motorcycle community, a distracted big rig could change your life forever. Hey, it's Eric Von Hessler. Steel Horse Law specializes in motorcycle accidents involving trucks, and they can protect you from big corporations and their armies of lawyers. Steel Horse Law can help you get back on your feet, medical bills paid, back to work, and your case resolved. Schedule your free accident evaluation at steelhorselaw.com.
So, a guy knocks on your door, shows you a shingle that fell off your roof, and then tells you that your roof needs replacing? Sound familiar? Did he also ask for the name of your insurance company? Hi, this is Candace from Exovations, and I want to tell you what you should do the next time someone like this knocks on your door. Smile nicely, say no thank you, close the door, and call Exovations. Why? Because too many times roofers like this end up getting your home insurance policy canceled. At Exovations, we'll first determine if you actually need a new roof. Then we'll discuss all of the roof system and shingle options. And we'll make sure that your roof is installed on time, on budget, and without all the stress caused by Mr. Knock on My Front Door roofing guy. Schedule a free consultation today at exovations.com. That's EXOVATIONS.com.
If you've been thinking about selling your home, now is the time. With a guaranteed offer from Mark Spain Real Estate, you can sell your home fast and for more than you expect. Choose when you want to move with the Mark Spain Real Estate Guaranteed Offer. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today and start packing.
Thanks for calling Reliable Heating and Air.
Yes, so I've gotten a few quotes for a new HVAC system, and they all say lifetime warranty. What makes yours different?
Great question. Many lifetime warranties only mean the life of the system, and if you miss a maintenance visit, the warranty's void. But a Reliable lifetime means forever. Repairs, annual maintenance, even filters are no extra charge.
Wow.
Get any size air conditioner for only $69.99 a month with zero down and the only true lifetime warranty backed by Reliable. Get your free estimate at reliableair.com today.
Lead with your ears. If you'll learn to really listen, you'll understand what your customers need and your business will grow. You'll know what motivates your employees and your team will thrive. You'll know how your spouse is wired and your marriage will blossom. You'll know what concerns your kids and you can strengthen them. You can even discover God's leading for your life and be fulfilled. This is Tom Gray, and This Stuff Matters.
ThisStuffMatters.net.
For only a few more days, you can get 3 rooms of carpet clean plus a free hallway from Zero Res for only $109 when you mention me, Chris Chandler. This offer ends soon, so schedule your appointment now before it's too late. Schedule online at ZeroResAtlanta.com.
Seems everything costs more these days. Gas, groceries, and when's the last time you checked your wireless bill? Yikes. When it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Switch to Consumer Cellular and get the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill. Plans start at just $20 a month, and that's not a short-term promo. But don't just take our word for it. Here's Jackie and Veronica, real customers.
I didn't know that I could get something for a lot less money that was actually better than who I was with before.
Anytime anybody complains about their cell phone bill, we say, you've got to check out Consumer Cellular.
Our US-based experts will get you switched and saving in about 20 minutes. Just call or click to see how much you can save today. Because when it comes to big wireless, if you're staying, you may be overpaying. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit ConsumerCellular.com. That's 1-888-FREEDOM or ConsumerCellular.com today. Real people pay to share their opinions in this ad. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Get Eric's daily show prep email. Text DATA to 33777 and you'll be in the know.
Greetings, conversationalists. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, happy to have you. Let me go to the phones here. Dan, you're going to be up first today. Welcome to the show. How are you? Dan, you there?
Yeah, I'm talking to you, but apparently you're not hearing me.
Well, now I hear you. Welcome.
Are you?
Oh, Dan, you know what? You know what? I'm going to put you back on hold here, Dan, because it sounds like your cell phone might actually be part of the problem here, and now we don't have a lot of time, and I want to actually be able to talk to you about this issue. So we just be patient, Dan. I promise I will get to you when I get back on the other side of the break. So let me say this. You know what I've been telling you about tariffs is that it's like sugar. Tariffs rev things up before you have the sugar crash. Rolls-Royce is announcing it's going to start building its jet engines in the United States to bypass Donald Trump's tariffs. Likewise, Hyundai is going to be building more stuff in the United States. Now, you're thinking, Erickson, this is great. Why complain about it? It is great. It is great news. It's jobs for the United States, and that's actually a good thing. It is not just jobs for the United States. It's actually great paying jobs in the United States. But there's a catch. If you read the fine print, neither company can make the products as cheaply here as they can abroad. So prices are still going to go up. So we'll get higher wage paying jobs in this country, but also long term, the price of the engines are going to go up for the planes, which means the cost of the flights are going to go up, which means the price is going to be spread around. So you do got to keep this in mind. Tariffs give you a great jolt, and then the sugar crashes as prices go up. So just be mindful of that moving forward. The president, by the way, signaling he's going to soften his tariffs. We've got that data on the other side of the break and Dan's phone call. First, I got to tell you about Vision Computers because, you know, with tariffs potentially coming on April 2nd now, You might want to go on, if you need a new technology purchase for this year, go on and get it in now before tariffs kick in. Vision can take care of you. Call them at 404-COMPUTE or go to visioncomputers.com. Vision can build you a computer. They can save you money on the computer. They can build you a great machine, and then you get their 5-star tech support. Go look on Google, I dare you. Thousands of 5-star reviews of Google's tech support, or Google Vision's tech support on Google's reviews. And in fact, if you don't have a computer from Vision, the tech support comes free with Vision's computer. You can pay $179 a year and get their 5-star tech support for yourself, for your company, for all the computers in your company. It's fantastic. It's visioncomputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. In fact, if you tell Vision I sent you, you're going to save even more money. They can help your family. They can help your business. Anyone who buys a computer from them gets it for free, or you can pay for it. And you bypass the tariffs if you go in and get your computer order in now. 404-COMPUTE or visioncomputers.com. Call Vision Computers today and tell them I sent you.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic.
95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
It is 1:30. Good afternoon. This news is sponsored by Ben Hill Renovation. New developments in a nearly 40-year-old murder case. Back in 1986, some hunters found human remains in a wooded area south of Ellijay. Gilmer County investigators have now been able to identify those remains using advanced DNA testing. The remains belong to David Clary. He grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, but was in Metro Atlanta a lot. His last known location was Gwinnett County. Now the GBI is hoping to use the same DNA to find Clary's killer. Your weather for this afternoon, cloudy skies and a high of 71, says WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. President Trump is announcing a secondary tariff on Venezuela. He claimed that the country has sent criminals and gang members into the U.S. Mr. Trump wrote on Truth Social that he is imposing a 25% tariff on nations that purchase oil and gas from Venezuela. This as the administration ramps up efforts to deport Venezuelans. President Trump is asking the Supreme Court to block an order forcing the government to rehire fired federal workers. Mr. Trump and tech billionaire Elon Musk had thousands fired as part of the Department of Government Efficiency's efforts to restrict the size of the federal workforce. Now, a federal judge has ordered the White House to reinstate more than 16,000 probationary employees after ruling that their firings were likely unlawful. United Airlines is raising its annual fees for its rewards credit cards and yearly lounge passes. Starting today, United will offer 2 tiers of membership to its United Club Airport Lounge network. Customers with an existing membership will be able to keep those terms that they signed up for until their membership expires. Airlines have been tweaking their loyalty programs recently to reward big spenders after overcrowded first-class cabins and packed airport lounges as of late. And if you use Woolite, listen up. The Consumer Product Safety Commission issuing a recall because the laundry detergent could contain a bacteria that could get through in the body through your eyes or through a break in the skin. It could cause serious infection to those who have a weakened immune system. The recalled Woolite was sold exclusively at Amazon. We have more information online, WSBRadio.com. It's 1:32.
There's a new optimism in the air, and we think investors like you might have the best year ever. Hello, I'm Brant Frost, founder of First Liberty Building and Loan. Last year, we opened up our First Liberty Notes program to Main Street investors just like you, and the response has been just incredible. Everyday folks from all walks of life have enjoyed 8 to 13% interest rates while helping to fuel the growth of small businesses right here at home. If you're a qualified investor and have a minimum of $25,000, you too could be earning 8 to 13% interest rates. We'd love to have you join our First Liberty family today. We believe this is going to be a special year and a great year. We've got the projects. Now we need partners like you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com and see if our First Liberty notes are right for you. Go to FirstLibertyGA.com. That's FirstLibertyGA.com.
First Liberty notes are not obligations of or guaranteed by any financial institution and are not secured by any collateral. They are not FDIC insured or guaranteed by any government agency. You could lose money. Purchasers must verify their SEC accredited investor status. Securities are not being offered in any jurisdiction in which it is unlawful.
Attention men, are you suffering from ED or PE? Here's an important message from Choice Men's Health.
I'm Dr. Katz and I'm the Chief Medical Director at Choice Men's Health. Are you performing the way you want to in the bedroom? If the answer is no and you've tried Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra and were disappointed, then you need to come see us immediately. If you don't see results on the first visit, then there's no charge. Many of our patients have medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and prostate problems. I'm happy to say that we have 98% success rate with all our patients. Our customized solutions will allow you to perform within 10 minutes and last an hour and even longer. You can regain your love life and tackle your ED and PE problems. Guys, your partner will never complain again. Our clinic has the most affordable prices, so if you visit other clinics and you're not completely satisfied, then you need to call Choice Men's Health.
Regain your love life regardless of your age or medical history. Choice Men's Health guarantees results on your first visit or you pay nothing. Call now, 404-400-1170. That's 404-400-1170.
Why does it matter that D. Geller & Son is Atlanta's first diamond wholesaler? Because we get first dibs. When diamonds come to Atlanta, they come to D. Geller & Son first. A bunch of diamonds that look the same on paper, but there's about 1 in every 10 that you can see from across the room. So we keep the good one, we pack the rest back up, and they go somewhere else. Usually a big box store that's not quite as picky. That means the same color, same clarity, and same price gets you more brilliance, more sparkle, more bang for your diamond buck at D. Geller & Son. In Atlanta, Kennesaw, and Sandy Springs, online at dgeller.com.
Right, quickly, Alex Williams, how we looking?
Not too bad out there. Crash off to the left in Ackworth, 75 north before Highway 92, and right lane construction, 316 westbound at Duluth Highway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly cloudy and warm today, high 71.
It's 61 degrees under cloudy skies in Tucker. Villa Rica has 56, and it's 62 right now in Monroe. More news at 2 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
He's got the courage to tell you the truth, because the truth is what matters. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome back. It's Eric Erickson here across the nation. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. The IRS sees a 10% revenue drop. That's what it's expecting. Of course, it's claiming that's coming from laying off agents. Sure, whatever. All right, let's go to the phones here again. Dan, let's try you now. Welcome to the show, Dan. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm doing fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Beautiful. Sorry about that on the earlier moment.
That's all right.
You struck a nerve with me when I was listening to you regarding the nonprofits, because I'm a former professional fundraiser doing mainly capital campaigns for nonprofits, and I coach nonprofits now on fundraising and various other things. And I fully agree with you. I try and get nonprofits off of the government dole or off of grants if they can do it. But I don't think it's a bad thing. However, it can't be the cake. It has to be the icing on the cake. And what I encourage them to do is to reach out to the community and to the private sector in their community. And that's the job of the executive director and the board and other members of that are employed by the nonprofit. And a lot of times they don't do that. They think we do great things. They should come to us and give us money. And that doesn't happen. If you build it, they will not come. So I encourage them to go out and be a part of the community in a much more significant way and go. There's a process to talk to the private sector. It takes a while. You got to do it over time, and you have to be consistent. And you have to do what you tell them you're going to do. But it's not just the fault of the private sector and of the community. The executive director and board members have to be part of that.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you. The level of buy-in from local nonprofits these days, and you know, I've had this conversation myself, Dan, and appreciate your chiming in here, giving your expertise, that the number of local nonprofits that I know of who it got easy for them to hire a grant writer to get a government grant, and they wound up staffing up on grant writing and decreasing the amount of people they did that actually did donor initiatives in their local community, and they changed the dynamic on the head. And
Absolutely.
I've been telling several of those that I know that, you know, the dynamics are going to change just economically in the country. You're going to need to build a local base of donors. You can't just keep relying on grant writing from governments as governments cut back if the economy changes. And so many of the ones that I know that didn't do this. They're now in a world of hurt. And it really was a simple dynamic of they felt like it was easier to find a grant writer than it was to actually find a local base of donor support.
Well, I think a lot of them don't know how. And so it is difficult. I mean, it's not an easy process, and you have to understand how to engage that community and the community overall, rather than just writing a paper and sending it in. Now, the grants are a special talent as well when you're grant writing, but they come and go. And I spoke to a nonprofit recently that said, well, they'd lost several of their grants. And I said, what are you going to do about it? Well, I don't know. And I said, well, do you go to the private sector? And they had a board that was loaded with heavyweights from their community. They said, well, it's like going to the private sector. It's a real process. Like, yeah, exactly. But that's why you're there. And so anyway, I have numerous nightmarish stories regarding that. And it's sad to me because they're good organizations. And the same with the churches. They need to put themselves in front of the churches and not just expect the churches to come to them.
Right.
So it's a combo deal. But if they're shirking their responsibility of reaching out in the proper way, and some of them aren't shirking it, they just don't know how to do it. Right. Then it's going to be a difficult haul.
Yeah, look, I think that's well said. I appreciate the phone call tremendously, and I can't emphasize this enough that I deal with nonprofits. I've taken classes in fundraising for nonprofits and grant writing and things like that, and when you spend all of your time on grant writing, trying to get donations from the feds or from your state, from different governments, and you have sacrificed as a nonprofit, whether you're a food bank, a soup kitchen, or what, and you've sacrificed building local ties to the local community, who can be a donation pool for you. You get to something like this, and it's a world hurt. You got to reprioritize these sorts of things. It actually does matter long term economically that you as a nonprofit taking care of local people, local community, build the relationships with the local community and are seen in the local community. It actually is a real issue that I think a lot of nonprofits, because the government after COVID was throwing so much money at people and so much money at nonprofits, that the nonprofits lost the relationship to the local community. And as we all knew, the day would come where the COVID money would be pulled back and no longer funded by Congress. That day has now arrived. And if you're still addicted to funding your nonprofit with government grants instead of building relationships, now is the time to start finding fundraisers, not grant writers, who can actually do events for you in local communities and network you to the people who can write checks for you. I mean, I've got, now listen, this is not my solicitation for you to come hit me up, because I work with Hungry for a Day. My radio stations across the country have local nonprofits they help. Most famously, the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, my flagship station, they do a big telethon for them every year. Down in Jacksonville, they do one down there as well. There are lots of opportunities for great nonprofits to build relationships in local communities that aren't dependent on taxpayers at the federal level sending them a check. And if you believe that your nonprofit does a great job, it is time for your nonprofit to get engaged in your local community, building those ties. I help a lot of nonprofits. I actually don't have the bandwidth to bring on more nonprofits to help, but I help them. I do events for them. I do not charge for the nonprofits that I help to help them raise money in their local community. Use my name to bring people into the door. I'm doing multiple events this year for different nonprofits. And I'm helping them build ties to the local community so that they're not getting grants. And a lot of the ones I do are religious nonprofits anyway, so they're not getting grants from Washington, D.C. to begin with. But I got to tell you, the amount of hand-wringing out there in the media about local nonprofits getting money cut from Washington, D.C., it's actually a good thing. And I know it's painful for you if you're an organization that's getting money from Washington, D.C., it's painful for you to not have that money, but it's going to make you healthy in the long run, because you're going to have to figure out ways to actually build donations from your local community, and that's going to be far more important for you long term for the strength of your organization to have a reputation in the community where you know people are going to donate year after year because you're doing a good work in your community, as opposed to you're an anonymous group getting money from D.C. and you swear it's being invested in the community. Be involved locally. Now, switching from local, let's switch to some national and international stuff here. I'm going to offend some of you with what I'm about to say, and I'm okay with it. I kind of think the whole Gulf of America and Canada as the 51st state is a shibboleth. You know the story of the shibboleth? When the Israelites had taken Canaan, I forget who they were fighting, was the Amalekites or somebody, and they came back across the Jordan River, and the Israelites would ask the people crossing the river to them to say the word shibboleth, because the tribes they were fighting couldn't make the sh sound. They could only make the sis sound. So if someone came across the Jordan River and said Sibboleth, they would strike them down and kill them because they knew they weren't an Israelite. If they said Shibboleth, they knew that they were of the 12 tribes of Israel, and they were safe to come across the river. And it's a word you say that's a tribal identifier. Pronouns in your bio in social media is a shibboleth of the left. You put your pronouns in your bio on Twitter, the rest of us know not to take you seriously, and on the left, they know you're a good progressive. If you unironically, unhumorously say Gulf of America, you've been programmed by the right. If you actually treat seriously that Canada should be a 51st state, you are definitely in MAGA. And I'm sorry, I do not want Canada as our 51st state. Not only do I think it's kind of a bullying effort by the Trump administration to get people to fall in line to say this sort of thing, much as I feel like the left pushes you to use pronouns, I also think it's dumb because the Canadians are a bunch of left-wing progressives, and if Canada were to become the 51st state, they would actually become multiple states because we would divide it up based on their provinces, and the only good province is Alberta. The rest of them are a bunch of left-wing progressives. We'd have a bunch of Democrats in Congress and in the Senate, and everyone who you bring this up to knows it. So why are we still doing the Canada's 51st state thing? It's such a dumb thing. Why are we antagonizing the Canadians? You know what's going to happen is the Canadian left-wing government is going to get reelected when we have the opportunity to actually get a conservative government in Canada that wants to work with the United States. The Canadian government right now is bought and paid for by China. We should be ousting them. But this antagonistic talking point about Canada's the 51st state is just enabling Justin Trudeau's party, now with a new prime minister, to get reelected. I don't get it. But you know what makes a lot of sense? Greenland as the 51st state. We should be taking Greenland. This is actually genius by Donald Trump. The second lady of the United States, J.D. Vance's wife, is going to Greenland. There are those in Denmark who want the plane turned around. I saw some left-wing commentator in the United States saying they should force that plane to turn around. No, Greenland makes a lot of strategic sense for the United States. Listen, there aren't a lot of people in Greenland. It'd be easy to teach them all English. Many of them speak English to begin with. Greenland is of strategic importance. We have U.S. military installations there right now. The Danes have not invested a lot of money in building up Greenland. We could. Greenland makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of strategic sense. Canada doesn't make any sense at all. I don't want the Canadians to become states. They would just be Democrats. We don't want them. Greenland as a territory, not as a state, or the 51st state, it'd be okay. It's a giant landmass. It is underdeveloped. We could develop it. American businesses could do well in Greenland. I think we need Greenland. Now, why do we need Greenland? Well, we don't really need Canada because Canada is an ally, even if they can be annoying poutine eaters. But the Canadians actually do recognize that there is a geostrategic political interest in maintaining ties with the United States in the Arctic against Russia. The Russians are seeking not just mineral wealth in the Arctic, the Russians are seeking to militarize the Arctic. That's why Donald Trump wants Greenland, because the Danes have not allowed us to build up our military capacity in Greenland the way we've wanted for the last 20 years. Now, only because of the saber rattling about Greenland are the Danes allowing us to build up our military capacity. The Canadians have been allowing us to build up our military capacity, which is why I don't think we need to keep being antagonistic to the Canadians. They're giving us what we want in the Arctic. We've got to build up military capacity. Why? If you pay attention to the globe, not the map is flat and doesn't actually capture it the way the globe does. If you pay attention to the map, however, what you find in the map, or what you find in the globe, is that if Eastern Russia, where they have major where they have major military institutions, if they fired nuclear missiles at the United States, they would sail over Greenland. In the same regard, China. If China were to fire nuclear missiles at the United States, or North Korea for that matter, not only would the Arctic installations in Alaska play a big role, but the Arctic installations in Greenland play a very big role, particularly for any eastbound missile or westbound missiles coming out of Europe and Asia. Greenland is a first line of defense. Not only that, Greenland has major mineral rights. They give the Danes major mineral rights in the Arctic. China and Russia together are trying to capture those mineral rights. We should absolutely buy Greenland. Just print the money, buy Greenland. Sure, it would call it inflation, but Greenland makes sense. Bullying the Canadians makes no sense. Taking Greenland makes a ton of sense. We should take Greenland. Greenland should be an American territory like Guam or Puerto Rico. It's a massive land mass. It gives us access to rare earth minerals. It makes a lot of sense. The Canada one doesn't. But yes, I fully believe Greenland makes a lot of strategic sense for the United States. Now, what makes strategic sense for you is Old Glory Bank. They should be your bank. If you go to oldglorybank.com today, they can become your bank. Mike Ring, the CEO of Old Glory Bank, has actually testified in Congress a lot lately on the debanking trends out there. His bank is not going to debank you. They are by conservatives. They are for conservatives. They would love to have your business. I would love for you to go to Old Glory Bank because they're my bank. I have been a customer of Old Glory Bank far longer than I've been an advertiser. In fact, I asked them to let me advertise. I think I'm the only national advertiser for Old Glory Bank on radio right now. They are a great bank. If you're a business and you're worried because of your business investments, the left may come for you, Old Glory Bank. You're an energy company, an oil company, a gun company, Old Glory Bank, that's the bank you want. They're headquartered in Oklahoma. OldGloryBank.com. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Terms and conditions apply. It really is my bank. Old Glory Bank could be your bank too. You can fill out your form online. OldGloryBank.com.
When the truth seems hazy, Eric will clear the way. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
151 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Hero just blocked and reopened all lanes heading between Dunwoody and Dorville. 285 eastbound, the inner loop approaching Peachtree Boulevard, exit 31. Got a stall off to the right there. Something just cleared up. 85 northbound, Jimmy Carter Boulevard, exit 99. All lanes open, sluggish from 285. And a crash still on the left shoulder. Blue lights with it. 75 northbound before Highway 92, exit 277 in Ackworth. On and off the brakes, leaving Highway 5 in Marietta. Traffic brought to you by Jackson Hewitt. It matters who does your taxes at Jackson Hewitt. Expert tax prep is now $149 or less. Terms at jacksonhewitt.com/49-149. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
If it's happening on the streets of Atlanta.
After suspect refuses to exit home on Summer Chase Drive.
If it's happening on the roads leading to Atlanta.
Looks to be a tanker truck crashed into the median on the Jam Cam.
95.5 WSB has you covered.
The major culprits squeezing household budgets for auto insurance, gasoline, and utilities.
Your 24/7 news source. Tune in throughout the day to stay up to date.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's breaking news station.
Hope. It's more than a word. It's a breakthrough in the making. At City of Hope, we're pushing the boundaries of science, targeting cancer at the molecular level, with teams of experts working together to personalize a treatment plan right down to your DNA with unprecedented speed, making every second count, with appointments in as little as 24 hours. City of Hope, advancing cancer care at life-saving speed. Learn more at cityofhope.org.
Hey folks, it's Eric Erickson here. Well, it's Trump 2.0 now, and things are changing quickly. Every day, changes to taxes, tariffs, foreign policy, moving at a pace we haven't seen in a very long time, definitely not in the last 4 years. What about your retirement plan? Many of you know about the Magnificent Seven stocks like Apple, Amazon, Meta. They've been behind a lot of the market's recent growth. I saw my buddy David Nicholas on Stuart Varney show the other day. David is my wife's and my financial advisor, and he was talking about what he calls the MAGA 7 stocks and sectors he thinks thinks are going to have the most opportunity in this new Trump administration era. Well, you know, David gave my wife and me a complimentary Morningstar analysis. It's $1,000 value, but right now my listeners can get it complimentary. He's going to give you guys what he gave my wife and me. If you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, call Nicholas Wealth Management. Get this unbelievably valuable analysis for free. David and his team will review it with you, give you some total clarity, and get you ready for your nest egg in this new era. So if you've saved $250,000 or more for retirement, please go to nicholaswealth.com. That's NICHOLAS wealth.com. Or call 678-990-8500. That's 678-990-8500 or nicholaswealth.com.
Nicholas Wealth Management is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. This is prepared for informational purposes only. It does not address specific investment objectives or the financial situation and particular needs of any person who listens to this show. Eric Erickson is a current client and is paid for this ad.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Belinda here for Atlanta Vision Institute. I'm here to introduce you to a new procedure that Dr. Ashraf is performing called laser optics. This changed my life, folks. I was so tired of wearing contacts and glasses. The glasses were not around when I needed them. I had astigmatism, so the contacts didn't fit me well, and I had beginning stages of cataracts. So I went in. I was a great candidate for laser optics. It was a quick, painless procedure. The next day, it was like everything was in HD. The colors were more vibrant. The leaves were more vibrant. The sky was more vibrant. My husband was better looking. Everything was great. Laser optics with Dr. Ashraf, Atlanta Vision Institute. Go to the website 2020atlanta.com to find out more information. Also, take the quiz to see if this is a procedure that's good for you. Your medical insurance may cover it. That's 2020atlanta.com.
All the news, weather, and traffic you need. 95.5 WSB.
Hello there. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be very happy to have you. I want to go back to this account I mentioned an hour ago. Philip just sent it to me and said, "Where were you an hour ago?" He must not have been listening. I guess I need to fire him again. To Jeffrey Goldberg and this report from The Atlantic about how he got roped into a Signal chat with members of the administration he didn't intend to be added to. I got a theory here. So this chat, it was real, and it was planning the bombing of the Houthis, and it included, well, let me just give you the names of the people involved. It included Mike Waltz, the National Security Director, who appears to have created the chat. It included Marco Rubio. It included Scott Bessent. It included J.D. Vance. It included Pete Hegseth. It included Brian McCormick with the National Security Council and John Ratliff with the CIA, among others, and an ongoing conversation about what to do. And then they were seemingly oblivious to Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic being in the Signal chat. Joe Kent signed on for Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard was a part of it. They were arguing about what to do with the Houthi. Jeffrey Goldberg sees all of it. Y'all, you do understand the Chinese have so compromised our communications grid that iMessage on iPhones and Signal and WhatsApp are the three safest ways to communicate these days. Now, I don't know that's why they created a Signal chat, but that's my guess, is that our communications channels have been so compromised by the Chinese. It seems to me the U.S. government, even under Donald Trump, and before that, Joe Biden has largely given up trying to get them out of the system. They simply don't know how to get the Chinese out of our communications systems these days. Cell phones, landlines, the Chinese are listening to everything at this point. Signal groups, WhatsApp groups, and iMessage groups are actually the best ways to communicate securely. It's just kind of wild that this is happening. It's also very, very wild that they created a group chat where Jeff Goldberg of The Atlantic was accidentally added. Now, I have to tell you, this has happened to me before. I was added to a group chat with a number of famous people years ago, including a royal head of Europe and a former president of the United States. No, I'm not making that up. Real thing. It was kind of funny to be a part of this wild group chat. It was an email group. And then I think someone must have realized I was involved, and I stopped getting emails from it. In any event, when we come back, we got more to talk about, including CNN's baseless claims.
Scott Slade here to talk to you about your health, and I think it's real important to talk about what is most likely to kill you. Heart disease is the #1 killer of Americans, and the older we get, the more prevalent it is. But you can reduce your risk. Eat right, don't smoke, exercise, and be informed about what's going on in your own body. Like lots of potentially serious health problems, if you catch heart disease early, you vastly increase your chances of living a longer life. And that's where virtual imaging comes in. Virtual imaging scans take less than 10 minutes and screen with 98% accuracy for heart disease. Other scans, including brain and full body, are available too. Virtual imaging is locally owned and operated in Atlanta for over 15 years, so they can make you this terrific offer. A complimentary heart scan for you and your spouse with a few minimum requirements. So don't put this off. I've done it. Call Virtual Imaging today for your free heart scan. 770-678-SCAN. That's 770-678-7226. Or visit their website at virtualimagingatl.com.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2 o'clock, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. It is just in. New information on the senior skip day shooting in Newton County. A second teenager is now facing murder charges in the shooting death of 18-year-old Justin Etienne at Denny Dobbs Park.
Caitlin Jett with the Newton County Sheriff's Office identifying the second suspect now arrested.
We arrested Tashawn Lyons, 17 of Conyers. He is facing charges of murder, aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, possession of a firearm by a person under the age of 18, and reckless conduct.
He's a student at Salem High School. She says he was hospitalized following that shooting, but is now locked up in the Newton County Detention Center. Sabrina Cupid, 95.5 WSB.
61 degrees in Atlanta after today's rain. Plenty of sun tomorrow. Meteorologist Christina Edwards has Atlanta's most accurate and dependable forecast coming up. It's madness to think sex buying is just a game. That's one of the warnings as a nationwide billboard campaign to combat sex trafficking launches in all 8 cities, hosting the NCAA basketball tournament, including here in Atlanta.
When these big events happen, traffickers will seek to capitalize off that potential for increased demand. And it's important to know that, these things happen all year round, especially in places like Atlanta that have such a robust sex trade.
Yasmin Vafa, Executive Director of Rights for Girls, says the goal is to make sure sex buyers think twice about their behaviors. Some Cobb County services are impacted by an online outage. The phones are working, so the clerk of Superior Court's office has reopened. However, some websites are down, impacting other services. They've been gradually coming back throughout the day, but it's taking longer than expected. There was unusual activity, possibly by a hacker detected on the county's internet services last week, so they were taken offline for maintenance over the weekend. There is no word yet on when service will be fully restored. The pedestrian bridge over Cobb Parkway connecting the Cobb Galleria and Cumberland Mall is closed starting today for a $2 million overhaul. Cobb DOT Director Drew Ressler says there will be some traffic impacts initially while workers put up their protection platforms.
It'll be intermittent lane closures that we'll schedule outside of peak hours, but once they have the work area enclosed, they will be able to work completely through traffic without any traffic impacts.
The bridge will be closed until July 2nd. If you're not feeling well today, it could be allergies. Metro Atlanta has its highest pollen count of the year so far at more than 3,000. It's mostly due to pine, oak, birch, hackberry, and sweet gum. It is now 2:02. This news sponsored by Brett Beckers. Up next, live team coverage of traffic and weather.
At CertaPro Painters, we know that a happy place comes in many colors, like ones that inspire a sense of wonder, or a new flavor that makes life just a little bit sweeter, or one to celebrate those moments that lift you to new heights. With thousands of 5-star reviews, you can trust us to bring happiness home. CertaPro Painters. That's painting happy. Each CertaPro Painters business is independently owned and operated. Contractor license and registration information is available at CertaPro.com.
I'm here with Chris Hoffman, the founder of Hoffman Financial Group and host of Money Unleashed. Chris, with all the things we're reading, seeing, and living through these days, from rate cuts, election season, and now a new administration, now seems like a great time to make sure we have that comprehensive plan in place. You know, the one that covers all our financial bases.
There are occasions throughout the year where I feel like it's critical for people to engage their financial lives and get the information that they deserve from a financial advisory team. And this is one of those times, to be quite frank. So we ask that you call us if you have a minimum of $500,000 in your full portfolio. But we're going to do away with that minimum so that those folks can have an equal opportunity to understand what's in their portfolio as well. Now, you have to have some money, right? I can't help you to build your wealth at work, right? But I sure can help, I believe, with your 401k, IRA management. There's probably 2 or 3 things that'll surprise you that you may want to take action on. So the next 10 people that call in, we'll work up either a portfolio x-ray, or if you feel like you need a full retirement plan, go to unleashyourmoney.com, click on Portfolio X-ray, or click on Full Retirement Plan. We think you'll be impressed enough, and we want you to become a client. There's no question about it. We believe that we are a very competent fiduciary advisory team, and we want to offer that to our listeners. Let Hoffman Financial Group actually show you how we perform, and I believe we perform at the pinnacle of this industry.
Call the Hoffman Financial Group at 404-737-3858, 404-737-3858, or online at unleashyourmoney.com. Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Wealth Advisors, a registered investment advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Hoffman Financial Group Incorporated, Georgia Insurance License number 163546.
It is now 2:05 and time for live team coverage of traffic and weather in the 24-hour traffic center this afternoon. It's Alex Williams.
Hey there, Bill. Watching delays out of Kennesaw into Ackworth. Crash still on the left shoulder, 75 north before Highway 92, exit 277. Slow through Lawrenceville, Gwinnett County. It's construction in the right lane. 316 westbound approaching Highway 120 Duluth Highway. And on the south side, 75 northbound. Heaviest part of that is in McDonough from Highway 155, breaking free up around Jonesboro Road, Jodico Road. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Upwards. Mostly cloudy, drying out today, high 71, lows tonight in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, sunshine, high 76. Mostly sunny on Wednesday, morning low 50, afternoon high 77.
Should be mainly dry for the rest of the week. We are watching for potential severe storms on Sunday. Right now, Storm Tracker radar clear, 62 in Cartersville, 61 in Lawrenceville, and 59 in East Point. More news at 2:30. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number is 877-973-7425 if you want to be on the program. If you would text the word Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to 33777, you, my friends, can get all the show links. You can get the podcast. You can get the Stack of Stuff links. You can follow me on social media. It's a great way to stay involved with the program. I mastered my pizza oven this weekend, I want you to know. I want you to know that I'm mastered cooking 4 pizzas at once in my pizza oven, and it worked wonderfully. Now, I gotta read you a story from the Miami Herald. This is the headline: Rise of Vicious Venezuelan Prison Gang Sends Migrants Streaming Towards the U.S. From the Miami Herald, November 15th, 2023. Christian Cortez was already thinking about leaving Colombia to escape the gang violence ravaging his neighborhood when he came home to find a threatening flyer shoved under his apartment door. Those who are snitches, we will blow up grenades in their cars, it read. No one will be safe inside their houses. The warning had been distributed by Trenda Aragua, a gang that has spread to half a dozen South American countries in the past few years after emerging from a Venezuelan prison around 2012. Wherever it has appeared, the gang has brought kidnapping, drug dealing, human trafficking, contract killing, and extortion along with it. Tren de Aragua calling card is violence. It posts graphic videos on social media showing victims begging before being executed. Now, after a dispute with local building management board in the Bogota neighborhood where Cortez lived, the gang members were threatening to poison the water supply and set fire to elevators. Cortez and 15 members of his family decided to flee. Drawing on a leak of documents from the Colombian prosecutor's office, the Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project and its partners, including the Miami Herald, have been able to piece together a picture that gives fresh insight into the gang's activities. The gang has managed to go toe-to-toe with established groups, obtaining heavy weaponry and expanding outside its home country. The gang has set off a wave of terror in countries like Chile, Colombia, Brazil, and Peru, sometimes partnering up with other gangs. Now there are signs that Tren de Aragua members are even headed further north. The U.S. Customs and Border Patrol told this crime reporting media partner, CNN de Español, it had detained 38 suspected Tren de Aragua members in just 1 year. Between October 2022 and 2023, at least 2 are being prosecuted for allegedly illegally entering the United States. Now, this is very important here. Let me read this again. The source of this is the Miami Herald's Organized Crime and Corruption Reporting Project, which is a media consortium. And according to this group, Customs and Border Patrol of the United States told CNN and Español it has detained 38 suspected Tren de Aragua members in just 1 year. Between October 2022 and 2023, at least 2 are being prosecuted in the United States. Now wait, there's more. We know that Venezuela has released violent gang members into the country, into the United States. This is from October of 2023, from Insight Crime. A recently released list of Venezuela's most wanted criminals has brought attention to some of the country's most important organized crime figures, but also underlines the government's refusal to acknowledge some of its most significant security threats. The Venezuelan Justice Ministry released an updated list showing the 11 most sought-after criminals on October 4th, having released a nearly identical one 9 days earlier, from which gang leader Deber Johan Gonzalez, alias Carlos Capa, was curiously absent. The ministry's list provides only a partial snapshot of the country's criminal landscape, and many of those who feature on it present a regional rather than national threat. It also contains some noteworthy differences compared with the list of the country's top 10 dangerous criminal organizations released in February of 2023. One of the interesting aspects of this list is the reports that some of these individuals have fled to the United States, and that's why they're not listed on Venezuela's list. Many of them have ties to the Venezuelan government. Now, I say all of this so that you understand that even the Biden administration was concerned about Tren de Aragua gang members coming into the United States and had detained a number of gang members at the border. We also know repeatedly that there's a number of gotaways, that it's not just the people who have gotten into the country that we've detained. There are also a number of people who have been able to get into the country illegally, and they've come here from countries around the world, including Venezuela. This is why it's so notable that just before I came on air today, CNN sent out a push alert to people who run the CNN app on their iPhone. Let me read you the push notification. President Trump says he'll impose 25% tariffs on any nation that buys oil from Venezuela after baselessly claiming it has sent criminals to the United States. Baselessly claiming. Y'all, it's not a baseless claim. It's legitimate. It is documented by the Biden administration that Venezuela was allowing people out of their prisons and essentially giving them one-way tickets to the United States. But according to CNN, it is baseless. CNN en Espanol documents how the Border Patrol stopped a large number of these gang members coming into the United States, and those are the known ones, not the gotaways. It's just a deep frustration. Here, by the way, is from the Government Accountability Office, the GAO, from 2023 during the Biden administration. In 2019, the U.S. ceased to recognize Nicolas Maduro as Venezuela's president and suspended embassy operations. Political unrest, financial collapse, and corruption in Venezuela have created an environment that allows transnational criminal organizations to operate unchecked. U.S. agencies have indicated that the Maduro regime tolerates transnational criminal organizations' operations within Venezuela, including some groups that the U.S. designates as terrorist organization. Corrupt Venezuelans have participated in and profited from these illicit activities. Both the Departments of State and Treasury have reported that Venezuela is susceptible to illicit financial activities. Criminal organizations, corrupt individuals in the Maduro regime, and others have taken steps to disguise the origins of their illegal activities and commodities. They use shell companies and family or business contacts, acting as proxies to hide their assets. U.S. agencies have taken steps to disrupt their flow. Y'all, we've got plenty of documentation from the government that illegal aliens are coming into this country, many of them from Venezuela, that have released a pressure valve in their prisons by releasing these people out into the world, knowing they're going to come to the United States. Now, it is true Nicolas Maduro and his regime did not load these people on the planes and send them to the United States, but they made it possible for these people to get to the United States through Mexico. They allowed them out of prison with the understanding they were going to the United States or elsewhere. They were getting out of Venezuela. And yet CNN, so broken in its hatred of Donald Trump, decides it needs to say these claims made by Donald Trump are baseless, when no, there actually is a massive base of reality that these people are coming here. No, they're not put on buses and shipped here, but they're let out of prison in Venezuela knowing they're going to do this, knowing they're going to come, knowing they're going to head here. Why is the media refusing to be honest? Why? I don't quite understand this. Well, actually, I do understand it. They're so broken by Donald Trump, they just can't bring themselves to be honest whatsoever with any of the claims that are being made. Now, it's absolutely true that Venezuela is not organizing the effort. But there's a wink, nod that this is happening. PolitiFact and CNN have long maintained it's not true because the Department of Homeland Security won't actually be honest about it, won't actually tell them what's going on. But how did these gang members who were in Venezuelan prisons show up in the United States? They didn't teleport to the United States. They were in Venezuelan prisons. They were violent gang members, and now suddenly they're in the United States. How did they get here? How did they get out of the prisons? How? It's very notable that the Department of Homeland Security and Customs and Border Patrol, when asked by PolitiFact about reports about Venezuela releasing gang members from prison knowing they would come here, refused to provide an on-the-record response to PolitiFact. See what's going on here? The Biden administration refuses to be public about it, even though they know privately it's happening. So CNN and PolitiFact can say it's not really happening. It's a baseless claim, but it's not a baseless claim. There actually is reality. I mean, again, this is the issue. How did individuals who are in prison in Venezuela somehow come into the United States unless they were allowed out of prison in Venezuela. How could it happen? Isn't it convenient? They were let out of prison and they just showed up in the United States. It's magic. It's magical thinking by the media to be able to attack Donald Trump on this stuff. Trump's tariff on Venezuelan oil begins April 2nd. This is his statement he just put up on Truth Social a short time ago. President Trump announced today that the United States of America will be putting what is known as a secondary tariff on the country of Venezuela for numerous reasons, including the fact that Venezuela has purposefully and deceitfully sent to the United States undercover tens of thousands of high-level and other criminals, many of whom are murderers and people of a very violent nature. Among the gangs they have sent to the United States is Trinidad Aragua, which has been given the designation of foreign terrorist organization. We are in the process of returning them to Venezuela. It is a big task. In addition, Venezuela has been very hostile to the United States and the freedoms which we espouse. Therefore, any country that purchases oil and or gas from Venezuela will be forced to pay a tariff of 25% to the United States on any trade they do with our country. All documentation will be signed and registered, and the tariff will take place on April 2nd, 2025, Liberation Day in America. Please let this notification serve to represent that the Department of Homeland Security, Border Patrol, and other law enforcement agencies within our country have been so notified. Thank you for your attention to this matter. There you have it. He's going to be shutting down oil capacity from Venezuela through a 25% tariff, which is good. If you will recall, Joe Biden allowed Iran and Venezuela, both American enemies who are working together, allowed them to sell oil, which was used to fund Hamas. The Venezuelans are a terrorist enterprise at this point, a failed nation run by a communist dictator who is allies with Russia, China, Iran, and Cuba. It's time to shut him down, and this is strengthened. So what does the American Press Corps, led by CNN, do? Calls it all a baseless claim when it's been well documented for years. These people are being let out of prison in Venezuela and allowed to come to the United States. You cannot believe so much of the American media these days when it comes to Donald Trump. They're completely broken by him.
Follow Eric on X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. Search EW Erickson.
220 Cool Ray Carrier, WSB 24-hour traffic center. Earlier, trouble we had in Ackworth. It was on the left shoulder. Totally gone now. 75 north before Highway 92, exit 277, but still seeing the brake lights leaving 575. Jammed up through Lawrenceville, 316 westbound. We get that right lane road work approaching Highway 120 Duluth Highway. And road work continues on Camp Creek Parkway both ways, right around Old Fairburn Road, left lane blocked in both directions. Traffic brought to you by Zinchi Handcrafted Sushi. Craving something fresh and flavorful? Discover Zinchi Handcrafted Sushi, high quality, affordable, and made fresh daily. Find Zinchi Sushi today at your local Publix markets, right by the seafood counter. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
Tune in to Atlanta's Morning News.
Several families also displaced after another apartment fire.
All your latest news, weather, and traffic.
Even the bridge over 75 is being held.
Tomorrow morning at 5.
Raleigh is now a permanent part of Appalachia High.
Wake up with 95.5 WSB, how Atlanta starts its day.
We are here with CFP Matthew Decker of the Vincent Financial Group and host of Retire ATL. And Matt, you've said that income is the outcome that matters the most in retirement. But what income streams require the most attention?
Yeah, so if you've got a pension or if you're living off of Social Security, you kind of know those income streams show up in your mailbox. That's mailbox money. It's almost like you're still working, and it doesn't really require that much attention. But most people that come into the office today, they are having to use their 401ks, their IRAs, SEP Simples, 403bs that are invested in the market to generate income. And anytime you're going to use a market-linked asset where you have to go in and decide when you're going to buy and sell to generate your income, it takes a ton more effort, energy, and attention to get that piece of the puzzle right. But it doesn't actually have to be that way.
So, Matt, the number one fear of adults in retirement is outliving their money. How do we get started building income today?
Well, you can get started today. You'd call us for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement roadmap. We want to build a GPS for you that's going to help navigate retirement, and it's going to have a focus on building and preserving income. 770-280-1488. We've got a representative standing by to talk to you right now. 770-280-1488. Our home office is in downtown Woodstock, but we are available across the metro Atlanta area to meet with you at a time and place that fits your schedule. Again, 770-280-1488 or online at retireatlradio.com.
The team at Vincent Financial Group want to help preserve your assets while building retirement income that lasts as long as you do. Call today for your complimentary retirement roadmap, 770-280-1488. And you can always get more at retireatlradio.com and join us for Retire ATL Sundays at 6 p.m. right here on WSB.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
Listeners, friends, family, neighbors, heck, even coworkers have asking me about QC Kinetics treatment. Hey, it's Mark Arum. No joke. Coworker the other day asked me about QC Kinetics. They want to know if they should consider it for their joint pain. Well, if you're wondering if you're a good candidate, let's see if you answer yes to any of these questions. First question, is your quality of life impacted by chronic pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, or other joints? Next, do you want to avoid surgery and all of the pain? And most importantly, do you miss doing the things you love because joint pain is holding you back? If you answer yes to any of those questions, I bet you're a great candidate with my friends at QC Kinetics. Call QC Kinetics right now. Ask for your free consultation. Learn how the latest advances in regenerative medicine can get you lasting pain relief. No drugs, no surgery, no downtime. Call 770-285-8026. That's 770-285-8026. 770-285-8026.
When it rains, it pours. It's not a matter of if it's going to storm, it's when. Hi, this is Candace with Exovations, and have I got a tip for you? There are only a few things you can be certain of living in Georgia. The weather is absolutely uncertain, storms are coming, and with that, the storm chasers blew in. You know, the ones that show up, canvass your neighborhood for a free inspection, make deals that are too good to be true, tell you all the neighbors are doing it, and then once they're done, they're gone like the wind. Everyone says they offer a lifetime warranty, but it only lasts as long as the company's in town. At Exovations, we will install your roof on time, on budget, and without all that stress that you usually hear about in construction, which means we stand behind our warranties. We provide you with written documentation, and we will be here to weather the next storm. So let it rain. We've got you covered. Visit exovations.com to schedule your free consultation today.
Your non-stop news source, 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
Giving you the truth, not the talking points. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
Greetings, welcome. I gotta just keep laughing about this story. This actually is really wild. It is blowing up everywhere now that the White House National Security Team planning the attack on the Houthis let Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic into the group chat, and no one seemed to notice that he was in the group chat and he saw everything. And, you know, I do have to give credit to Jeffrey Goldberg. He is not publicly releasing certain details about the group chat because John Ratcliffe from the CIA listed an agent who's active duty CIA. And then Pete Hegseth gave away certain details about how the attack would transpire that could compromise military intelligence long term. That Jeffrey Goldberg was a witness to this is insane. That they did this over a signal chat suggests to me that they've given up on trying to get China out of our telecom system. And that, I think, is probably the biggest story that no one fully appreciates here is the Chinese have so infiltrated our telecom systems, landline and cell phone, it's almost impossible to have confidential communications anymore. The Chinese can monitor it all. You have to use a signal group or iMessage on the iPhone or WhatsApp to have a truly secure conversation these days. In fact, I've had members of the U.S. Senate and House of Representatives tell me that they've given up on general text messaging on their phones now. They only use these services like Signal and WhatsApp or iMessage with blue bubbles because the telecom networks are compromised. But that a journalist was added. And by the way, you should know they're now confirming, the government is confirming, this is not some sort of hypothetical. This is actually legitimate. The government is confirming, national security is investigating how Jeffrey Goldberg was added to this chat. They're confirming its existence. It's just amateur hour. You don't you don't do this. And they did it. You can't move fast and smash things when you're blowing up the Houthi. And wow, I really am I'm flabbergasted by it. It's actually very funny, but goodness gracious, I've been texted in wrong group chats before, including one with the former president. It was actually an email list. But never has anyone decided to plot an actual military attack with me in a group chat. Okay, we got to move on here. I got to tell you about Americans for Prosperity. They would love to get you involved in fighting for the president's tax plan. I don't know if you know this or not, but now it looks like there could be delays in getting the tax plan moving forward. I hope that's not the case, but they want your involvement trying to rally members of Congress to do the right thing. You can go to protectprosperity.com today, protectprosperity.com, sign up with AFP. Be involved with AFP. Become an activist, become an educator with your neighbors of what the state of play is with common sense conservative solutions. They are the largest leading grassroots group in the country. They are across the country. They're involved in all 50 states. They'd love to have you involved and engaged as a conservative activist. All you have to do is go to protectprosperity.com, click the action tab, stay informed on the progress and state of play about the tax cuts in D.C., and get involved with AFP. They're a great group. I'm on their board of advisors. We'd love to have you as a conservative activist. ProtectProsperity.com is the website. Go take action today.
Live from the Superior Plumbing Studios.
News,
weather,
traffic. 95.5 WSB.
Atlanta's News and Talk.
At 2:30, I'm Bill Caiaccio with our top local story. A second teenager arrested in the senior skip day shooting in Newton County. Caitlin Jett with the Newton County Sheriff's Office identifies the second suspect as 17-year-old Tashawn Lyons.
He is a student at Salem High School and was hospitalized before his arrest due to injuries sustained while fleeing the scene, but he is now in custody at the Newton County Detention Center.
18-year-old Justin Etienne was shot and killed at Denny Dobbs Park last week during a senior skip day. Investigators believe he was an innocent bystander. 16-year-old Jarvis Hinton Jr. was previously arrested. New developments in a nearly 40-year-old murder case. It dates back to 1986 when hunters found human remains in some woods south of Ellijay. Gilmer County investigators have now identified the remains using advanced DNA testing. The remains are those of David Clary. He grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, but was frequently in Metro Atlanta. His last known location was Gwinnett County. The GBI is now looking for Clary's killer. News about your health now, and more proof regular screenings can save lives. New analysis shows getting screened for prostate cancer can lower a man's risk of death by 20%. Men who avoid prostate cancer screenings, especially those 55 and older or with a family history of prostate cancer, face a 45% higher risk of dying from the disease. It is most treatable if caught in the earliest stages. Crews in the Carolinas are working to fight major wildfires that have burned hundreds of acres. The Table Rock Fire in South Carolina started Friday and has burned 1,300 acres with zero containment. This resident of Pickens County, South Carolina, says people need to be careful.
So dry and the wind is so bad right now. It's not a good time to have any fires.
Another fire in Greenville County has no containment and has scorched over 800 acres. It is now 2:32. Up next, live team coverage of traffic and weather.
See this garage door? I gotta be honest with you. It's ugly. I mean, successful, attractive homeowner like you, it's time to move on. This is not the garage door your parents thought you'd spend the rest of your life with. And that ain't true with everything in life, don't get me wrong. I mean, honey, if you're listening, you can't divorce me just because I'm no longer the handsome stud you married. But your garage door? The neighbors all think you can totally do better. At Mo Better Garage, we make that way mo better. Let us show you how many sexy new alternatives there are. Just waiting for someone like you. You swipe right on a beautiful new design, we install everything in a lovely ceremony, and you and your new garage door live happily ever after. For better, not worse. How do I know? Because I'm Mo. Call Mo Better Garage and we'll come make it right. Maybe I should pick up some flowers on the way home.
Mo Better Garage, we make it way more better.
MoBetterGarage.com.
Attention men, are you suffering from ED or PE? Here's an important message from Choice Men's Health.
I'm Dr. Katz, and I'm the Chief Medical Director at Choice Men's Health. Are you performing the way you want to in the bedroom? If the answer is no, and you've tried Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra and were disappointed, then you need to come see us immediately. If you don't see results on the first visit, then there's no charge. Many of our patients have medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, obesity, and prostate problems. I'm happy to say that we have 98% success rate with all our patients. Our customized solutions will allow you to perform within 10 minutes and last an hour and even longer. You can regain your love life and tackle your ED and PE problems. Guys, your partner will never complain again. Our clinic has the most affordable prices, so if you visit other clinics and you're not completely satisfied, then you need to call Choice Men's Health.
Regain your love life regardless of your age or medical history. Choice Men's Health guarantees results on your first visit or you pay nothing. Call now. 404-400-1170. That's 404-400-1170.
Wet spots or water streaks on your ceiling, drywall, or chimney? Your roof is leaking. Home Fix It host Dave Baker. Get a free roof analysis from my trusted experts, Finley Roofing. The roof guys. No obligation, no charge. FinleyRoofing.com. Roof.
At 2:34, Alex Williams is in the traffic center.
Just found new trouble heading up into Kennesaw. Looks like a stalled tractor trailer in the center lane, 75 northbound, just north of Barrett Parkway, exit 269. Already starting to slow that ride back into Marietta. If you're traveling downtown, getting a little bit slower, but not terrible. Southbound a little sluggish from 17th Street down to North Avenue. And right lane construction continues on 316 westbound through Lawrenceville as you approach Highway 120, Duluth Highway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
I'm WSB meteorologist Christina Edwards. Mostly cloudy and warm today, high 71.
And should be dry for rest of this week. Right now it is 62 in Cartersville, 61 in Lawrenceville, 59 in East Point. More news at 3 o'clock. Breaking news when it happens. I'm Bill Caiaccio, 95.5 WSB.
Smart, fearless, and occasionally funny. You're listening to The Eric Erickson Show.
Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here. The phone number 877-973-7425. Should you wish to be on the program, I would be happy to have you. I want to shift gears to something. When I was young, I was a terrible reader. When I was in second and third grade, had a lot of problems just struggling, focusing on reading. Was put into a remedial class, had to relearn phonics, things like that. And it was, by the way, I should just pause here and say there's some breaking some real breaking news. In Houston, Texas, cattle have escaped a truck on the interstate and are stampeding down the interstate in Harris County, Texas. Interstates are shut down as they try to wrangle the cattle. This is happening now on my TV. There's a police officer chasing a cow down the road as another cow looks on. Wow. Sorry. In any event, I'm a big proponent in reading, and here's why. The copious amounts of data going back hundreds of years shows that if one can read, then one can figure out everything else. Reading is paramount to everything else, including math. You want to get good at math, you need to be a good reader first. And if you can't read, you're not going to be able to progress. And if you can't progress, you're going to wind up on the government dole. You're going to wind up being a criminal, something. The amount of people who are in jail who are illiterate, who can't read, who were failed in the elementary school level and just never progressed is astronomical. There's a direct correlation to reading comprehension and being able to get a job in the real world. And we've got to be able to boost reading. And you know where reading is being boosted? This kind of blows my mind, to be honest with you, but the data is there. You know who started the trend in reading at the state level? That would be Louisiana. And then Mississippi caught on to what Louisiana was doing. Mississippi and Louisiana are now number 1 and number 2 in 4th grade reading adjusted for demographics. Now, what does adjusted for demographics mean? Well, you adjust for demographics based on, poverty, education, race, things like that. You see there's a massive, massive boost among poor black students in Mississippi and Louisiana beginning to read. Now, they're not yet topping overall proficiency, but Mississippi, Tennessee, Louisiana have moved into the top tier. They're tied for 14th and 4th grade reading proficiency overall. But when you actually look at the growth in black student literacy rates, Louisiana tops the nation. Mississippi comes in number 2. What happened? Because these are states, and by the way, the 4 states that are surging are Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee. And Louisiana started the trend. Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama looked at Louisiana and said, well, for God's sakes, Louisiana suddenly literate. What's going on here? I am from Louisiana. Y'all, when I was in 10th grade and moved back to Louisiana, I went to public school for the first time. My first week in school, I was in Linda Priest's 10th grade English class, and a guy raised his hand because he saw a word he did not recognize. 2 words, actually. The first word was spelled L-I-B-E-R-T-Y. L-I-B-E-R-T-Y. Liberty. What was liberty? To this guy, it was a town in southern Mississippi. That was it. Liberty. Had never heard the word. The other one was committee, by the way. He didn't know either word. Liberty and committee. Mind blown. So Louisiana, back in the 20-teens, decided that, you know what, it was going to invest in actually what works. Because this is one of my frustrations with like Common Core and everything else is we wobble among trends. Well, this is the trendy thing now. We're going to teach everybody this way. Then this is the trendy thing now. We're going to abandon what was just the trendy thing. And now we're going to do the same. So Louisiana sat down and it came up with, here are the things that work. Phonics we know works. There are some whole word programs that work. And there are some combinations of phonics and whole word works. And Louisiana said, you know what? We do not care. But these 4 programs, we know they work. Historically, they work. Tried and true, they work. So we're going to let the teachers, how dare they let the teachers pick. For your class, you pick what you are comfortable teaching. They boosted the science of reading training. You had to have 55 hours of training for all K through 12 teachers. You had to use one of 4 approved providers. And guess what happened? Reading in Louisiana began to improve. And so Mississippi and Alabama and Tennessee said, hey, wait a second. Let's do what Louisiana's doing. Tennessee started the curriculum reform. Going into the 2020 state curriculum adoption, Tennessee worked to nurture local buy-in for curriculum improvement. The 2019-2020 early language adoption offered a tightly curated list of knowledge-building curricula. You had to go just a handful of curriculum that we know works, but the teachers got to pick. They started a tutoring initiative. They started a mentoring program. When I was in junior high overseas, I did a tutoring program where I was helping younger kids like me at the time who had struggled to read, helping them read. Got back to Louisiana, went to public school, started doing it in Louisiana. Started tutoring kids after school. And what Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama have started doing is they've let proficient readers who are in high school help kids in elementary school, help tutor them. In 2003, I'm reading now Lady Karen Vitus. Mississippi's success story is probably the most notable in the past decade in the nation. In 2003, Mississippi was 49th in the nation for 4th grade reading proficiency. Today it ranks 9th. Mississippi is tied for third highest reading proficiency for underprivileged children. Mississippi's black fourth graders were 43rd in the nation in 2003, and today, third in the nation for reading. In recent years, its eighth graders have begun to show reading gains too. Mississippi's growth in math proficiency has been more striking, reminding us that if you get reading right, math follows. So what did Mississippi do? Well, it passed a literacy-based promotions act in 2013 requiring investment in literacy. You want to get promoted from third grade, you got to be able to read at a third grade level. Teachers poured resources into curriculum that worked. And they transformed lives. Now, like Erickson, what does this have to do with the use of this is, you got to understand this. Southern states are often maligned by big blue states. In fact, we've seen this with the word coming that they're going to cut the Department of Education, the federal Department of Education. Donald Trump wants to get rid of it. You know where the reading gains in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Tennessee came? They came at the local level. They came at the local level because the states all passed laws allowing the local teachers and the local school districts to decide for themselves in their classroom what they wanted to teach, how they wanted to teach it. The local schools got buy-in. They trained the teachers how to do it. And then they encouraged the parents to come in, explain to parents why your kids needed to read. And black parents, white parents, Hispanic parents, they all are getting more and more involved in the system. And guess what's happening? The number of kids in elementary schools in Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, and Alabama, in black communities, the number of literate students is soaring. Alabama was only one of two states to show the National Assessment of Education Progress, that national test that that schools have to take. It was only one of two states in fourth grade reading since 2019 to show growth. In 2019, Alabama ranked 49th for fourth grade reading. Today it ranks 34th. It was 49th for low-income fourth graders in 2019. Today it's 31st. Testing shows profound gains in reading. And again, it's very common. What do? They focused on first, second, and third grade. If you can get kids the basic skills in first, second, and third grade, they can develop a reading habit all on their own. And you know what? It wasn't some Common Core, read the books, get as many books read as you possibly can. It was letting the teachers teach. And that, I got to tell you, is probably the biggest issue here. It's one I've talked about on this program. Let the teachers teach. Stop making the teachers be bureaucrats. Stop blaming the teachers because kids are coming to school hungry because families are in collapse. It's not the teacher's fault. The kid can't learn when the kid comes to school hungry, but teach the kid to read as best you can as a teacher in the way the teacher's comfortable. Get the parents involved as best you can, and guess what? It's showing success. There aren't silver bullets. It's just practical programming in these four states at the local level, getting the teachers involved, trusting the teachers to be able to teach, giving the teachers the skills and resources to teach, and letting them pick the program they're comfortable teaching. And not only that, in some of the schools, they have a program where if a teacher realizes one kid does better with phonics, another kid does better with whole words, let them do it that way too. They're now starting to surge ahead of other states. This gives me a lot of hope. You know, there's a lawsuit now. I want to, where is it? I think it's in New Jersey. A student is suing her school because the girl graduated from high school with honors and is illiterate. Think about that for a minute. You graduated from a public high school with honors and you're functionally illiterate. How does that even happen? I can't fathom that happening, yet it's happening in this country. We've been failing our kids because the teachers and the trendsetters, they just want to follow the trends. They want to follow the trends. They want to go with the latest newfangled way to teach, and it's failing across the board. It's failing in math. It's failing in reading. Meanwhile, the old, the tried, and the true that we know, it's working. And now we've got 4 states that were at the bottom of the list. I mean, we're talking 50th, 49th, 48th, and 47th in literacy are now, when you adjust for race, are now like 4th, 5th, and 6th. And by adjusting for race, we're excluding the white kids. It's the progress in the black community that matters. We in this country have given up on, in inner cities, teaching black kids to read because we've just made excuses for it. It was racist. The system's systemically opposed to them. They're from broken homes. And these states decided, no way. Mississippi and Louisiana have the highest childhood poverty rates in the nation. Alabama and Tennessee are number 6 and number 7, respectively. And we're not letting that poverty be an excuse in these states. And in fact, I can tell you what's going to happen long term. I can predict this like I know the sun is coming up tomorrow. Because of the increase in literacy rates in 3rd grade in Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and Tennessee, you're going to see the poverty rates of those states go down. Because poverty rates are linked to literacy rates. As more and more kids learn to read, they get better jobs, they do better in math, they become more proficient, poverty rates go down. This is an amazing, it's not getting a lot of national attention, but I got to tell you guys, as someone who is from Louisiana, who saw it with my own eyes, just how bad it could be, deeply encouraging that places like Mississippi and Louisiana, Tennessee and Alabama are seeing 3rd grade literacy rates surpass every other state of the nation. Why? Because of all the dumb things. They just said, you know what? We got teachers. Let them teach the way they're comfortable teaching and see what happens. And it's worked. Now, if every other state could learn, get the bureaucrats out of the classroom and just let the teachers teach, maybe we could make great national progress. Oh, if only we could dream. Now, let me tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm before I get out of here, because I actually had the opportunity to use one this weekend because, well, there was a lot of garlic cooked in my house this weekend, and I love the smell of garlic, but I'm apparently the only person in my house that loves the smell of garlic, and when you turn on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm, it gets rid of the garlic smell. It gets rid of every smell. It gets rid of smoke odors, litter box odors, dirty diaper odors, wet dog odors, garlic odors, musty odors, fried shrimp in the kitchen odors. They all get wiped out by the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. You can get 3 of them. You can save $200. Get them for less than $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. What you do is go to EdenPureDeals.com. You'll see a discount code box on the front page of the site, and you put in ERIC3, E-R-I-C-K, the number 3, no space, ERIC3 at EdenPureDeals.com. You'll get 3 of them. For upstairs, downstairs, your basement, your travel bag, your RV, they're small. You can hold them in your hand, plug them in with a USB cord, plug them directly into the wall. You'll save $200. You'll get all 3 of them for less than $200. You go to EdenPureDeals.com, and the discount code is ERIC3.
You're at the intersection of politics, news, culture, and current events. It's the Eric Erickson Show.
251 Cool-Rate Carrier and WSB 24-hour traffic center. Better news in Kennesaw. What we thought was a stalled big rig was actually a crash involving a big rig, but they got it off to the right, 75 northbound, just past Barrett Parkway, exit 269. Still seeing some brake lights back through Marietta. Looks like that construction continues in the right lane in Gwinnett County out of Lawrenceville, 316 westbound, approaching Duluth Highway. And we're seeing a few brake lights on the west side outer loop, 285 southbound, starting to fill in just below South Cobb Drive down to I-20, exit 10, the West Freeway. Alex Williams, 95.5 WSB.
The morning rush hour.
Looks to be a tanker truck crashed into the median.
Evening rush hour.
It is an absolute mess.
And everything in between.
Also, bring the speeds down. The rain is falling on 75 and 575.
Tune in 24/7 with the Triple Team Traffic Center.
Your source for Atlanta's traffic. Brought to you by the Cool Ray Lifetime Parts and Labor Warranty.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's News and Talk.
We are here with CFP and investment advisor Aaron Vincent of the Vincent Financial Group and host of Retire ATL. And Aaron, you mentioned that taxes are on sale. What exactly does that mean? And is it something we need to take advantage of right now?
Yeah, Mark, it may not feel like it right now, especially this time of year, but when you look at history, we are actually in historically low income tax rates time. If you look back, tax rates have been significantly higher. And when you look at the national debt, which most reference at around $36 trillion, but when you consider the fact that with all the unfunded liabilities like Social Security and Medicare or Medicaid, it's actually north of $100 trillion. When we look at factors like that, there's a pretty good chance that tax rates actually go significantly higher again. So yeah, you can make an argument that right now taxes are on sale.
So Aaron, what can we do right now to take advantage of these low tax rates?
If you don't have an income plan in your retirement conversations, then you actually don't have a tax plan. That's important because if you don't have a plan for your money, guess who does? Uncle Sam's got one, and by default, you'll fall into that one. So we want to offer you a no-cost, no-obligation Tax Map. It's a deep dive into your retirement plan and specifically your tax strategy. From there, we'll make suggestions based on what's working or what opportunities could better fit your situation. The goal is for you to keep more of your hard-earned money while giving less to Uncle Sam. Call us at 770-280-1488. Again, that's 770-280-1488. Our home office is in downtown Woodstock, but we're available all across Metro Atlanta to meet you at a time and place that fits your schedule.
Taxes are not a seasonal conversation, and they're not going away once you retire. Take advantage of the complimentary tax map by calling the Vincent Financial Group today, 770-280-1488. That's 770-280-1488. And join us for Retire ATL, Sundays at 6 p.m. right here on WSB.
Investment advisory products and services made available through Impact Partnership Wealth, LLC, IPW, a registered investment advisor. Neither the firm nor its agents or representatives may give tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a qualified professional for guidance before making any purchasing decisions.
WSB Atlanta, WSB BFM, and HD1 Doraville. 95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
If your credit card bills have gotten out of hand, call Consolidated Credit now. If the interest rates on your credit cards are so high, it'll take years to get out of debt. Call Consolidated Credit now. They've helped over 10 million people without destroying your credit. They can reduce your interest rates, lower your total payments up to 50% to get you out of debt fast. For a free consultation, call Consolidated Credit now. The program works.
Call 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298. 800-210-4298.
Consolidated Credit Solutions Incorporated, 5701 West Sunrise Boulevard, Fort Lauderdale, Florida 33313. Licensed by the New York Department of Financial Services and by the Vermont Department of Financial Regulation. Kansas CSO 0019051. Maryland DM 1492. Oregon DM 892. Licensed by the Virginia State Corporation Commission, license number DC83. Service may adversely affect the individual's credit. Non-payment of debt may lead to additional finance charges or collections activity, including legal action. Actual interest rates, length of program, and monthly payment reductions will vary by consumer and creditor. Yours could be higher or lower. Not a loan company. We do not lend money.
95.5 WSB, Atlanta's news and talk.
Join Eric's Army of Activists. Text ARMY to 33777 now.
Welcome. We've got some potential news that I need to bring you up to speed with here at the end of the show, and you need to know it is not confirmed, but the sources are credible, that 3 B-2 bombers have been moved to Diego Garcia from Missouri. Now, that's important because Diego Garcia that's an island in the Indian Ocean. And that is an area where we tend to stage bombers for Middle East runs, which could mean that there is a increasing increased military activity against the Houthi in Yemen, more likely than not. Or are we doing something with the Israelis in Iran? It's just very notable. If this is true, and it does appear to be true, 3 stealth bombers, B-2 stealth bombers being moved to Diego Garcia for possible bombing runs in the Middle East. That's where we tend to stage them. On top of this, we have this developing story of the principals for U.S. national security letting Jeffrey Goldberg be in a group chat with them, which in and of itself is wild. It's also just notable the ongoing in this group message chat, the antagonism of J.D. Vance towards the European. He just clearly does not like the Europeans at all, and wanted to drag out the potential attack on the Houthi for a month, making clear to Americans why they needed to do it, so it didn't just look like they were helping the Europeans. But that in and of itself just seems, I don't know, like a hyper online conversation among people on the right. And now Mike Waltz is, who attacked Jake Sullivan for sending top secret messages on Hillary Clinton's private email account, is now apparently setting up group chats with Jeff Goldberg. The whole thing is just wild that it happened. Wild that it happened. At the same time, you know what? There's other stuff out there, including a massive Hyundai investment in Louisiana. Jeff Landry and Donald Trump were present for the announcement of a massive, massive investment Hyundai, by the way, investing near me, about an hour and a half down I-16 towards Savannah from where I am, this massive plant for Hyundai. They're also now going to build one in Louisiana, making more cars. The United Arab Emirates also investing what amounts to $1.4 trillion for advanced sectors like AI, semiconductors, and manufacturing inside the United States. NVIDIA going to invest over $100 billion. Rolls-Royce now also decided that they're going to start making their jet engines inside the United States. Massive industrial manufacturing wins for Donald Trump. Massive wins for Donald Trump. And by the way, the border secured. Things that Joe Biden could have done that Joe Biden chose not to do, claiming that we needed laws to get it done, and yet we didn't. We just needed a new president. These are big wins for Trump. The Democrats can't deny that, but you know and I know they're going to do their best to deny it.
WSB consumer expert Clark Howard.
If you love the idea of being the first person to ever own a home and you're out shopping for one of those new homes, know that in a lot of places in the United States, builders are sitting there with new homes they have not been able to sell. And so your ability to get a deal on that new home is better if you are aware of that. What's one of the big things you can get right now? A much lower interest rate on your mortgage. Now, let me tell you, the builders do this two different ways. You want to know the right way to do it. They may offer you something where they offer a great rate for the first year and a little bit not as good a rate for the second year. And then the third year, regular rate, it's called a buy down. What you want instead is a really great deal on that mortgage, better than the market for all